Happy Thursday night. You folks almost made it to another Friday. And the Warriors are back in action Friday. They're going to host the Minnesota Timberwolves, some real competition where we can actually get a good idea of where this Warriors team stands. Because if you had a chance to look at the thumbnail for today's show, the caption says recency bias. And the reason why it says that is because people are getting a little too hyped up about beating the Bulls in Chicago. That's just my opinion, but the record of the Warriors right now is 13-12. They're just a game above 500. They're the 8th seed in the Western Conference. It's not like they're in a good place. Was it a relief that they won that game? Of course it was. Does it mean anything? F no. So here we are. How are the Warriors doing? Well, on today's show, I'm going to literally explore that, meaning lineups and net rating associated with lineups, 5-man lineups more specifically. That's when you're getting a clear picture. That's when you're getting objective information, not, well, this guy's plus minus when he's on the floor with this guy says this. Doesn't mean shit. It's a 5-player team. Who are the 5 dudes on the court? Not 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5, 5 out of 5. So we're going to explore that. Steve Kerr said some more maddening things. Maddening. I even got a nice little soundbite to play right after it because it reminded me of a funny scene from a movie. And the holidays are just around the corner. Folks, if you're looking for something to buy for the holiday season, we got you covered. We really do. I'm not being facetious saying that. I'm not making it up. Go to our store. It's on our YouTube page. Click on this QR code. Which QR code you're asking? Because there literally isn't one on the screen. Now there is that one right there. You have to order by Friday to get that package guaranteed in for Christmas. I think you could also do rush shipping. You got a few more days for that, but that's going to cost you extra. Pounce on it. Support the program. Check out our store. We got some amazing stuff there. Some of it really good priced. All of it very high quality. Happy holidays, everybody. Let's have some fun. Let's talk Warriors. It's a maddening season. Pure chaos. That's the Steve Kerr era for you. And all we try to do here is make some semblance of the madness. That's the goal. I don't know how well we're doing achieving that goal, but it's what we're trying to do. Let's break it all down. I see some great chats already. If the live audience wants to come on tonight, you are welcome to do so. I'll post the link in just a second. So let's have some fun. Or at least let's be entertained. I don't know how fun Warriors basketball is these days. I really don't. Some nights it is. Stephen Curry's coming back. That dude is the epitome of fun. So that is some damn good news. There is a glut at the guard position. Fascinated to see how the man making all the decisions with zero accountability, Steve Kerr, does. Don't be surprised if you see 5-guard lineups out there. We've already seen it. Maybe that becomes the norm. Let's break it down. We are powered by FanDuel.
Let's go.
And speaking of FanDuel, or Kiedis family, what is up? A Golden Dazer. Thank you for your support. We are brought to you by FanDuel, the official title sponsor of the program. And apropos to bring them up, because the Warriors have a game tomorrow at home hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves, and there is officially a line for that game. The Golden State Warriors favored by 4.5 points. The OU for that game is 226.5. Bookies are expecting some points. And if you want to bet the money line on the underdog Minnesota Timberwolves to pull off an upset at Chase Center, it's plus 142. Worth noting, the Warriors won the season series last year 3-1, but then they lost in the postseason without Stephen Curry, 4-1. So FanDuel, that's the line they're setting. Warriors favored by 4.5. The money line plus 142. Speaking of Wardell, actually, let me get to the chat real fast as we get started. Riz up, bringing up Bobby Marks of ESPN. I saw that segment today where he did a 5-team trade, included the Warriors, but forgot to pretend that he knew what the Warriors wanted. In other words, he proposed this 5-team trade without any consideration for whether or not the Warriors would actually do it. And what I mean by that is the Warriors' part in this 5-team trade would have not only it would have brought back a Kristaps Porzingis from the Hawks. The egregious part is thinking that the Warriors would not only give up Kuminga and Buddy Hield for him, but also a first and a second round pick. No, there's no chance in hell that's happening. Kristaps Porzingis is on an expiring deal. The Warriors already have Quentin Post. Why would the Warriors give up a first round pick for Kristaps Porzingis? Forget the Kuminga Buddy part. A first round pick. That's what he put in there. So Riz, do not take that seriously. I have not seen any hypothetical trades from the national media or any other media for that matter regarding the Golden State Warriors that make sense. Now, with that said, do I think the Warriors are going to make a deal come January 15th? Yeah. And the reason why is because of what we're about to listen to in just a second from head coach Steve Kerr. He spelled it out and then some following practice yesterday when he met the media. I'll get into that in just a second. But even before that, what I want to talk about first and foremost is Steph. He's back and he met the media today. He's going to play tomorrow. He's not even listed on the injury report. And Steph, first and foremost, I got two clips I'm going to play for you. The first one is Stephen Curry talking about the emergence of Pat Spencer. And the reason why that's intriguing, at least to me, is because the Warriors have a shitload of guards on this team. And Pat Spencer is another guard that Steve Kerr, the magician with rotations, is going to be expected to apparently fit in there. And I have no idea how he's going to do that. How are you going to play Steph, Pat, Steph's brother Seth, Buddy, Pajemski, who should be the odd man out, but he's never going to be the odd man out under a Steve Kerr tenure. GP2, I guess GP2 doesn't count because Kerr will play him at the 4. Will Richard, although I guess Will Richard doesn't technically count because even though he's a guard to 29 other NBA coaches, to Steve Kerr's eyes, he's either a small forward or a power forward. I guess same goes for Moses Moody. With that said, and I'm sure I missed a name or two, there's still a shitload of guards on this team. And I was curious to know, and that doesn't include Stephen Curry. So Steph was asked about Pat and the incredible games that the Stash performed in Chicago and Cleveland and Philly. And let's hear what Wardell had to say. He met the media today. We're going to play 2 sound bites from Stephen Curry. And let's hear from him. This is courtesy of the Warriors YouTube account. They publish these for the public. They publish these for media schmoes like me. Here is Wardell Stephen Curry talking about the emergence of two-way player Pat Spencer.
I'm out there.
What did you think about the emergence of Pat Spencer on the road trip?
It's amazing to watch. Like we've seen it over the summers practice. And, you know, when he's been out there in short spurts, like he just has a presence about him that he just knows the game. Plays with 120% of confidence every time he's out there, and as a kind of a playmaker role, it was cool to see him kind of, you know, adapt to what we needed pretty much overnight. And I think it'll only help us as we keep moving forward. I know when I'm out there to be able to play off the ball with, you know, him, you know, initiating, taking advantage of the space and all that type of stuff, it should be pretty seamless. So I'm happy for him. Obviously, he puts the work in, and again, he's been waiting for his time, and it's cool to see him take advantage of it.
I know, like, this is a two-way.
And so we'll stop there. NBA Today, by the way, the same program that had that ridiculous Bobby Marks trade proposal, where again he just pretended, did not get into it at all, just pretended that the Warriors would be okay with giving up a first-round pick and Kuminga, the Buddy Hield part, who cares, and a second-round pick for Kristaps Porzingis, an injury-prone big with a lot of flaws in his game, who will be an unrestricted free agent after this year. Get the F out of here with that ridiculousness. But those are Stephen Curry's words on Pat Spencer. And I brought up NBA Today because Pat Spencer and his brother Cam Spencer did an interview together earlier today with Malika Andrews, and it was fun. It was a fun bid. I did not realize that they have a third brother, and Cam Spencer was just singing effusive praise about his older brother Pat. They're about 4 years apart in terms of his mentorship, is just looking out for the family as a whole. It was good stuff. One other clip. John Bobby wanting a Stephen Curry scented candle, and something's going to tell me, you sick freak, that the scent you want is him immediately after a game, and jock strap scent. Is that what you're aiming for? Oh, more power to you though, man. I mean, look, as long as what you do is in the privacy of your home, who cares? The other Stephen Curry bit that I want to play is him talking about, sorry to bring this up, I know it's a tire topic, but until he's traded, it's a big deal. And I'm talking about Jonathan Kuminga, who, again, I do think he's going to be traded come January 15th. I think you will agree with me, if you don't already, in just a moment when we hear from Steve Kerr, who spoke for 5 minutes about it. But first, let's hear from Steph, because again, his words are very interesting. I feel like he has even more power, far more power than Steve Kerr's head coach. And typically what Steph wants is what happens. Typically, not always, typically. And this is where I also wish he would speak up a little more about his coach's just asinine rotations. But here is Steph talking about young player Jonathan Kuminga and how he feels, or just what his thoughts are on the DNP and Kuminga's words afterwards, just saying he's happy for the team, he's ready to play when called on. Here are Steph's thoughts about JK.
Yeah.
Thanks. I was wondering if we can go back to those comments from Steve Kerr where he said young players have to figure out who they are as players. And I'm curious to get your take about Jonathan Kuminga's situation right now, because the word consistency keeps coming up for him. So when a young player is trying to find out who he is, what's his individual responsibility to grow, whether it's time after practice or doing the right things in the off season? And alongside that, what's a team's responsibility to help a player develop and fit?
It's a partnership for sure. Especially, with the situation we have where, it's been the same coach, the same system, and it's just a matter of trying to ask the right questions, be honest with yourself both ways around, are you doing things that's the message is being heard, and are you actually out there on the court trying to do the right things? And really the hardest part is whether it's going well or whether it's not losing your spirit. That's been JK's challenge as a young player, is things change so quickly, and there's all these declarations about what or who he is as a player, does he fit, and all that type of stuff. And we still have high hopes that, he'll impact our team, this year. But it's just an idea. You can't lose your spirit if things aren't going your way, because, you're a game or two away from it coming right back to you. And if you've checked out, or if you're still not, engaged in the learning process, then you might miss your moment on the back end. So it is a back and forth, and it's responsibility of both sides. And then, as a team, it's our job to support him, because we know he's a great dude, very talented player, and we still, again, have belief that he can help us.
There you go. So those are Stephen Curry's thoughts on the Kuminga situation. Very political, very well said. Before I play you Steve Kerr's comments, which were, again, spoke for nearly 5 minutes about the situation, and 3 questions were brought up that elicited the 5 minutes in total of content I'm going to play for you. I want to, before that, give you an update on just where the Warriors are in terms of net rating with 5-man lineups. And I have 2 figures more specifically to present to you on the show today. One of those figures is going to be totals, meaning best 5-man lineups reflecting a cumulative total of net rating, meaning I'm not giving you average, like a per game average. I'm giving you everything added up to today, 25 games into the season, as we already start to approach the third way mark of the 2025-2026 season. And then I'm going to give you the per game net rating stats, meaning based on averages. Those don't necessarily reflect the total. So a shorter spurt can boost that number considerably. And let's start with that one first, actually. And I posted this on my social media accounts as well. But when you see these numbers, it does make things even more interesting when it comes to which lineups work best and who should be playing. So here are the Warriors' best 5-man lineups by per game average. And I'm obviously going to articulate this very clearly for the podcast audience since you do not have a screen in front of you. The number one rated, and I did not add any minute requirements. I did do that for the totals, which we'll see in just a second, but this is just literally by per game average. The number one lineup for the Golden State Warriors in terms of per game net rating: Jimmy Butler, Pat Spencer, Moses Moody, Quentin Post, and Will Richard. That's the 5 that started the game and the third quarter of the Chicago Bulls game. Sorry to be redundant. The most recent game the Warriors played. That's entirely what this is based off of. And they averaged 7.4 minutes per game. I'm guessing that's the number of minutes they played total in that basketball game. And they are a plus 19.0. That lineup was awesome, by the way. And don't be surprised if you never see it again because you know who the head coach of the Golden State Warriors is. The number 2 rated 5-man lineup based on average: Jimmy Butler, Pat Spencer, Brandon Pajemski, Quentin Post, and Will Richard. Can you guess again which game those 5 played together in? I'll give you a hint. It was the last one. They have averaged 3.4 minutes per game together. Something tells me that is the number of minutes those 5 spent together in the Chicago Bulls game, and they are a plus 11.0. Number 3, Jonathan Kuminga, Big Al Horford, Moses Moody, Brandon Pajemski, and Will Richard. 4.5 minutes per game, plus 10.0. And I'm going to guess that lineup was from way earlier in the season. I could be wrong, but I don't have an extended catalog in my brain of those 5 playing minutes together from my memory. But that's what the stats tell you. This is courtesy of the NBA. Number 4, Draymond Green, Gary Payton II, Moses Moody, Brandon Pajemski, Will Richard. 6.1 minutes per game, plus 9.0. And number 5, Buddy Hield, Pat Spencer, Guy Santos, Quentin Post, and Will Richard. Something tells me that was from the recent road trip. Wouldn't surprise me if that was almost entirely from the Cavaliers game and or the Bulls game. They averaged 4.4 minutes per game together, and they are a plus 9.0. There is one player who's in all 5 of those lineups. I'm going to give you folks a second. I'm going to take a look at the chat to see what they have to say about this. But there's one player who is in all 5. Will Richard. Will Richard on the season. I mean, we've been singing his praises extensively. I've been saying repeatedly, I want Steve Kerr away from him. I want a new coach so that he doesn't ruin this kid. Will Richard on the year. I want to get his minutes average real quickly here, if you folks don't mind. But my website is giving me issues. There we go. So Will Richard on the year in terms of minutes per game. And I bring this up because he needs to play more. It's not complicated. Will Richard averaging 19.1 minutes per game. Would I like to see that number go up? Yes, senor. Si, senor. Yes, please. Now, the other stat I want to show to you is the totals. These are total net rating stats, meaning we're accumulating the entire season, There is a minimum that's applied to this, a minimum of 10 games played together qualifies you for these figures. If a 5-man lineup has played less than 10 minutes together, they're not on this list. Side note, wouldn't have mattered. I did take a look. But these are the 5 that, factoring the entire season in, are the best 5-man lineups for your Golden State Warriors. And they are: number 1, Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Brandon Pajemski, Jonathan Kuminga. They played 65 minutes together. They are a plus 25. Number 2, Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Moses Moody, and Will Richard. They've played 55 minutes together, and they are a plus 14. Number 3, Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Quentin Post, and Jonathan Kuminga. Side note, that is probably my favorite lineup, or what? It's certainly up there. 44 minutes played together. They are a plus 14. Number 4, Jimmy Butler, Buddy Hield, Pat Spencer, Quentin Post, and Will Richard. They played 15 minutes together, and they are a plus 14. And last, to round out the top 5, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Buddy Hield, Brandon Pajemski, and Quentin Post have played 24 minutes together, and they're a plus 12. So whatever you want to take away from that, and Larry Hoods, I agree with you. Kuminga being in 2 of the top 3 will probably lead to Steve Kerr saying, "That's fake news." It is lunacy. So those are your net rating leaders. And again, this could change drastically between now and, say, February, because there is zero consistency in the lineups. We have no idea which players who are not stars, which is everyone in Steve Kerr's book, not named Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler. We don't know which ones are going to be his favorites. I think it's safe to say Brandon Pajemski will get his run, for better or worse, but that's where we're at with net rating. Now, here is the clip of Steve Kerr. And this clip is it's kind of crazy. Listen to it. It's nearly 5 minutes in length. I got this from I only have the audio. The Warriors did not publish the video of this, so I can only get the audio. And I had to edit out the questions to fit the first 2 of 3 questions to make this fit within 5 minutes. The questions themselves don't matter. That they have no effect on the context here. But when you listen to this, you're going to hear some very interesting things. If by interesting in your world, that means how Steve Kerr's brain works, right? Because that always interests me. This guy has all the power. It's an endless mystery, like what goes into his decision-making. It's been one of the most fascinating case studies of a human being in recent history when it comes to NBA basketball, no doubt. And this clip reveals a lot, not just in terms of his decision-making, but also in terms of the future of Jonathan Kuminga, which I think is very short, unless the brass has the balls, no pun intended, to do something about this incompetency at the top, meaning Steve Kerr. Here is Kerr talking about Kuminga. 5 minutes. Sit back. Listen. The audio is good. I made sure of that. The visual, virtually non-existent, because, again, only the audio existed. Here is Steve Kerr talking about Jonathan Kuminga, his future, and what goes into the decisions he makes for this roster.
I can imagine it's not easy for him. And we've talked, about the situation. And, my desire for JK is to become the best player he can possibly be, regardless of where he ends up, whether it's here or elsewhere. And, I tell my guys a lot. I mean, there's so few players who end up playing for one team their entire career. It rarely happens. I played for 6 different teams, and none of us know what's going to happen with JK or with pretty much any of our guys, although I would advise Mike not to trade Steph. So make sure that quote gets out there. Okay. But no, I mean, this is part of being in the league, and I've talked to Moses about this. I've talked to JK about it. I've talked to most of our guys. Really, it's like it's a really weird league. It's a weird business to be in because you have to fully commit to the team that you're playing for, knowing full well that team may trade you or cut you, and that's a really hard thing to reconcile as a player. But the sooner guys can recognize it, the better. And the guys who end up playing for a long time sort of figure that out, and they understand that you can't just say, fine, I'll be a mercenary either. Like, you really do have to commit to whatever group you're with. But if you're getting traded around, moved around, it's not an easy thing to deal with. So, and especially if you've never been traded, that first one is weird and difficult, and I can speak from experience. So, yeah, it's not an easy situation, but nobody knows what's going to happen. My goal is to get JK to play at the highest level that'll help us win that he can. Well, I remember years ago, Bob Myers told me, he said, I'm guessing it's easier to coach than be a GM. And I had been a GM before. And I said, I agree, but why do you say that? He said, because as a coach, all you can do is coach the guys who were there that day. And as a GM, we have unlimited possibilities as to what we can do to construct the team that we want to build. And it's true. Mike sits up in that office and has to think of a million different scenarios. And I just coach the guys who are there and try to support them, every day and help them. And then whenever the moves happen, but Mike and I are totally aligned, and he's great at his job. Whatever decisions he makes, he will include me in the discussions, but it's not my job either. It's his decision ultimately, and we both respect that.
Steve, at the beginning of the season, JK said that he wants to be coached hard, that he wants to be told when he's not doing something right and that he'll respond the right way. As a coach, do you feel like you've been able to coach him hard and that he's responded the right way, maybe to some tough love here and there?
He had a great practice today, and we had a talk before practice, and he did the things that I asked him to do, and I was thrilled about that. I think there are a lot of young players, not just JK, but lots of young players around the league who they have to find themselves. They have to figure out who they are as a player. And I think that's important for JK, and every experience is an important one. And I'm going to keep coaching him. And as he said the other day, we have a good relationship. It's the combinations, the fit, all that stuff has been, it's been going on for a few years. We know that, and I'm not going to shy away from that. I think it's pretty obvious, and I do feel for him that he has been sort of at the whim of my decision making based on what I want to see out there from our team.
There's a video going out suggesting that Kuminga left the bench before the end of the Cleveland game after he got taken out. Did he leave the bench before the game ended?
Sometimes he goes back to ride the bike, and he's done that quite a bit. So I don't know about any of that. He was very supportive of the players in Chicago. Not playing, he was down there cheering them on. He handled himself beautifully. So I don't know anything about that, and I doubt that happened.
So there you go. That was and again, some people in the chat were like, "This video is online." You can. I could not find it, and I asked, "Where did you see this video of him?" Who cares? You heard the audio. That's all that matters. Julian Bishir, I'm going to bring you on in just a second. Who wants to jump on and says he has some interesting stats to bring up. Want to real quick address Hamza Kassem, who for a second I saw you wanted to jump on there, and then you didn't make it. At a bare minimum, I'd love for you, Hassem, to join the program at least once so I can properly pronounce your name. I'm guessing that I'm butchering it every single time you join the program, or at least leave chat comments, and I'm reading your name out loud. But Hamza Kem's asking, do you see the Warriors going on a run, going up in the standings from the momentum we have the last 3 games, let alone Curry returning? Look, I thought I've said this before, but I'll say it again. That 3-game road trip to me does not represent momentum. It's Jimmy Butler was missing, I think, for 2 of those games. Draymond and Steph were missing for all 3, or for at least 2 of the 3. I think Draymond did play in that Philly game, I think. But Cleveland is a broken team. I think what you saw in that Warriors game with the Cavaliers does represent who they are. Their window was last year. It's cooked. We've seen this happen with Donovan Mitchell teams. They implode. Donovan Mitchell himself puts up insane numbers, but the postseason is a different story. And, his story himself, Donovan Mitchell's, has not been fully written yet. We don't know how that ends. My point is, I don't know what to make of Cleveland. I don't know if that game represents anything. They won. That's awesome. But did they beat a good team? I have no clue. They're barely above 500 in the East. And then the Bulls are just pure shit. I mean, the Bulls are like New Orleans Pelicans bad. They're like Washington Wizards bad. They had a good start and that's it. So I don't know what to take from that. I don't know if you can call that momentum, winning those games. Minnesota, that's a real test. The Minnesota Timberwolves currently 6th in the West. They present size. They have a real star in Anthony Edwards and a solid supporting cast. Let's see how that goes. And then I can answer that. If the Warriors look really good against the T-Wolves, I'll start feeling good. But when you look at the Warriors' schedule over the past, let's say, month and change, their wins. So let's go back to the start of November. And then, Julian, I'll bring you on, all right? They lost to the Pacers. They beat a Suns team that was missing a shitload of players, and including Dylan Brooks, who insanely has become an actually decent, has rejuvenated his career this year. He was one of 3 or 4 injured players. I want to see those 2 play again with Phoenix fully healthy. But they won that game. Good for them. They lost at Sacramento. They lost at Denver. They beat the Pacers at home. They lost at OKC. Those 2 Spurs games were incredible. The Spurs are an unreal match for the Warriors in terms of that being a good matchup. But again, you also need Stephen Curry to drop 49 and 46 in those 2 games. So, can he do that consistently? I think it's an unfair thing to even ask of Steph. They beat the Pelicans. Big deal. They lost to Orlando. They lost to Miami. They lost to Portland. They beat Utah. Big deal. They lost to Houston. They beat New Orleans. Big deal. They lost to Oklahoma City. They lost to Philly. And then they beat Cleveland. I don't know what to make of that. They beat the Bulls. Big deal. So, you see a lot of the cheerleaders out there looking at the Warriors from the month of November to now, when they went from 4-3 to now 13-12. So a 500 run. And all of their wins, with the exception of the Spurs and maybe Cleveland, were against good teams. All the rest were against bad teams. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. Julian has some stats, though. Julian, good to see you, brother. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. I don't know what you wanted to get into, maybe some conversation about what just happened with Steve Kerr. I think a lot of what he said was pretty much mentally preparing everyone for a Kuminga trade, when he kept on saying that, the first time is always confusing. I think he was just, pointing the obvious out. But
what did you think about his words, though, about Kuminga's future? Because he brought up, he mentioned other teams a lot. To me, if Steve Kerr gets his way, and he always does, Kuminga's gone. I think that it's a matter of when, not if. That's what I'm taking from that. Was that the same impression levied onto you, or no?
From his perspective, yes, and I'm with you. I hope that the front office grows a pair, because I watched in full the OKC versus I think it was the Suns yesterday, and also the Lakers versus the Spurs. And I'm letting everyone know here, I love Steph Curry, but if we trade Kuminga, we're still not winning a championship with Steve Kerr as coach. And because there's a particular way that we need to build our roster.
That doesn't, well, sorry to interrupt you, Julian, but that doesn't depend on who they trade Kuminga for. Like, you don't think they could get back something which, okay.
I don't think there's a player out there that would change this roster drastically as long as Steve Kerr is the coach. Yeah. One thing I know is about OKC, they got players on the bench that are pogo sticks and can light it up from behind the arc. I saw this one player. He looked like Patrick Swayze, if anyone knows who he is. But he was like a 6'10" Patrick Swayze, white, dunking on people and hitting the threes off the bench in a blowout win. Spurs, they're not even playing with Wembanyama. Jeremy Shohan, he can't even get off the bench now. And a few years ago, he was a starter at point guard.
Correct.
We don't have the athletes.
That was weird, by the way, when he was the point guard. Sorry to interrupt, but that was weird. That was a weird
but he's still a good, he's still a good small forward or power forward.
Agreed.
He's just not, a point guard
he's not
at
a point
that position. And watching these teams, I said, we don't have. We're excited over Pat Spencer, who's a 6'4" lacrosse 29-year-old, and we thinking that we're beating 6'8", 50-inch vertical guys. Like, it's not going to happen with Steve Kerr as coach. And so that's why I say I hope that we have the front office has some courage, because one reason I think Kuminga supporters is that they're looking ahead and they're seeing they watch other games around the league, and you got to say that we don't have those kind of athletes. We have one athlete, while most of the teams have 3 or 4 of these kind of athletes that are 40-inch verticals just running up and down horses, and we don't have a horse. And I think people that are saying, hey, wait on Kuminga because Steve Kerr is ruining him, like he's the only kind of horse that we have on this team. And
I want to add, by the way, real quick, Hamza Kasim in the chat mentioned that Draymond Green is out tomorrow, and that is true. The injury report is listing Draymond Green as out for personal reasons, which is kind of interesting. Al Horford.
Someone said congratulations. Did he have a baby or something?
I don't know, but Al Horford is also out because of a right sciatic nerve irritation, and then Trace Jackson Davis currently listed as probable with right knee patellar tendonitis. So that's your injury report. The Minnesota Timberwolves, by the way, Joan Behringer is out. Mike Conley is out with right Achilles tendinopathy. Anthony Edwards is questionable with right foot soreness. If he's out, and the Warriors better win that game if he's out. Enrique Freeman and Rocco Zikarsky, both two-way players, and they're both out. They're in the G League. So that's your injury report for tomorrow's Warriors T-Wolves game. Continue on, Julian. Sorry.
Okay. So that kind of was going to lead to stats. I've done some research because I've seen some statements in the chat that lingered with me. One of the things that lingered with me is that yes, I was reading the post.
I forgot about that. Was like 2 weeks ago when I last heard about that. So that's probably what it is. Is Draymond Green has a new child come in. I remember he complained that before the upcoming 3-game road trip that he might miss the birth of his child and how upset he was about that. So I'm a little surprised now that he's going to miss a game for that. So a lot of players do not miss games for the birth of their children, let alone the birth of your 3rd or 4th or 5th child or whatever. But I'm not complaining either. It's just there you go.
Maybe he needs 3/4 of the season off for family matters like Wiggins did, But going back to the stats I was going to transition to. So one statement I hear in the chat is people say that he's had 5 years, and they don't say what has he had 5 years to do, and they're equating his stats or whatever he's asked to do. But Kuminga had already broken through and proven himself in year 3, and so and I've mentioned before, but I didn't dive into it this way, and so Steve Kerr. That's when I think he started to really mess up Kuminga's trajectory. And if you think of so in year 3, I'm going to compare Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson, the 2 players that are the same height as him, that Steve Kerr refused to go away from, even though they were having terrible years. And so Jonathan Kuminga had a better defensive rating than both of those players. he had a higher true field goal percentage than both those players. Now to the minutes, he played 26 minutes per game. Andrew Wiggins 27, Klay Thompson 29. Kuminga shot 53% from the field. Klay Thompson shot 43% from the field. Yes, Klay Thompson shot better from three, but the overall stats of the player, like he was better in rebounds than Wiggins, scored 3 points per game more than Wiggins, had more rebounds than Wiggins, had more assists than Wiggins, and he had Wiggins' field goal percentage was 45%. Jonathan Kuminga was 53% again. So by all measures, if you were a coach, and this is what we talk about, Steve Kerr, he is stubborn in his ways as far as the inexplicable decisions of roster decisions and who he doesn't go away from, because Jonathan Kuminga, year 3, proved that he was at most the second best player on that team. And this was a year where he was still being yanked up and down. And one other point, because people said when you mentioned the 1 for 10 from Klay Thompson in the play-in, and then he went
0 for 10.
Yeah, 0 for 10, and then I think he went 3 for 16 or 3 for 17 in another game in the playoffs. Another dumb statement from the chat. They said that, well, he is a 4-time champion, so he can do that. And my counter to that is
but a one-time champion does not, apparently. Sorry, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, my counter to that is because I've always said that, okay, well, you're always asking Kuminga to be perfect in his minutes. So you're asking a young, at the time, say 22-year-old in his third year, to have more experience, to have more understanding of the game, to have a better touch, to have better cuts, better everything, better IQ of turnovers than someone who had been in the league for 12 years. So, like, that doesn't make sense. That, Klay Thompson and Wiggins are allowed to have bad games where they're shooting 1 for 10 or 0 for 10, 3 for 16 with 12 years of experience in the league. But this player, he has to go 5 for 5, actually 6 for 6 in that game that he was brought in against the Blazers. He has to be absolutely perfect. And that same year that we're talking about, his third year, he went 11 for 11 in a game. So the same people that are saying, he went 1 for 10 the other day, so he should be traded, he's done, he's a bum. Why is that such a diametric opposing viewpoint from a player that went perfect twice already in his career? Then we should never judge players based on one game. But Austin Reeves just went 5 for 27 in 2 games. Do you think they're going to sit him and bench him? No. So those are the stats I want to talk about as far as how Steve Kerr had ruined his career that third year, because he had already arrived. And that was when the front office and the coach needed to say, now we're going to place him in a position of elevation where this is going to be your team or you're second in the ranking. But instead of doing that, the following year, they went right back to the thing that wasn't working, which was Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson playing more than him. And I think that's when the train started to go off the railings, because you saw the demoralization in Kuminga the next year, in his year 4, because he said, I've done it. I've proven myself. I averaged 16, 5, 2 on 53% and 32% for 3. And don't give me spacing on 3, because you have players like Barrett and Ingram on the Raptors that don't shoot high percentage from 3, but they get their minutes. And so those are the stats I wanted to go with. And I would say that one thing that if anyone wants to project how Kuminga will look like on a new team, search a small reel clip of Kuminga dunking on Jaylen Brown. And if you search that clip, you're going to see Jonathan Kuminga. He pointed at Klay Thompson to set a screen for him. He curled around Klay. Then he pointed to Curry to set a screen for him. And then that left Kuminga and Brown isolated on the right wing. He blew by Brown and dunked on him. That's the kind of offense that another coach is going to run for Kuminga once he gets on his new team. So and I would say that whoever, and the reason why I said we're not going to win a championship with Steve Kerr with this system, even if we trade for say Miles Turner, is that whoever we trade for, it's going to be as bad as, say, when the Lakers traded Caron Butler for Kwame Brown.
That was a while ago.
Because I was thinking about.
By the way, real quick, Riz, Dude, I blocked you accidentally. I'm so sorry. That was a complete accident. This system was glitching on me. And all of a sudden it's showing here that Riz, is it still showing that? Well, now I don't see it. So maybe something's glitching. I don't know. I didn't mean to do that. I forgive me if you did get blocked. That was not intentional. But I want to highlight this. And this is, again, the rhetoric that I just don't at all agree with from Hams Kassem, who tries to hide his Steve Kerr adoration. It's a good attempt, but every now and again, comments like these slip out where you reveal a lot, saying that JK hasn't proved he can play consistent minutes. Julian, do you want to address that?
Let me see. I already broke down everything for you. When he got consistent minutes, he shot 53% from the field. And the reason why he was knocked back down is because Kerr in the front office did not move on from Wiggins and Klay Thompson. And so, we've said these stats plenty of time. When he gets 30 minutes a game, he shoots, he's scoring 21 points per game, shoots 50%, 40% from three. So it's like, I don't know how more I could break it down for you guys. I compared him to two other players that were in year three when he broke out, and how he completely outplayed them on the defensive end and overall statistics offensively. And this is why I say, if anyone in the chat, if you're saying I'll take Trey Murphy, you're an idiot, because Trey Murphy has been playing 35 minutes per game the last 2 years. He's not a better rebounder than Kuminga, and he's scoring 19, 20 points per game on 35 minutes on the worst team in the league this year, and then pretty bad last year. If you think that Trey Murphy is a good defender based on what you read online, then why hasn't that defense translated to team defense? I've given you a stat where John Kuminga was our, I think, best or third best defender, better than Wiggins and Klay that year, and even year 4. And we see Kuminga shut down, say, Jalen Green, Anthony Edwards, even held his own against Nikola Jokic this year. He's a great one-on-one defender. So if you think that Trey Murphy is some defender that Kuminga's not, you're in for a rude awakening. If you think that he's a scorer that Kuminga's not, you're in for a rude awakening, because he's had 35 minutes per game and he shoots 45% from the field. Kuminga, when he's gotten his minutes, and like I said, that third year was proven who he is as a player, he's going to shoot over 52% from the field. You're going to have to live with 35% from three, I believe, but everything else that he brings to the table is far more valuable. That's why his effective field goal percentage is much higher. So it's like people are not listening, and this is why we say trade him, because the fans are expecting him to be perfect in 10 minutes, go 5 for 5, don't turn the ball over. But it's okay when Draymond Green has 7 turnovers. It's okay when Klay Thompson shoots 3 for 16. But this kid, if he's not perfect, you're trash and get the hell out of here. And I think the fan base will regret it in almost immediately.
Lucky Trey is trying to bring up an allegory here to make some sense of Kuminga saying, before becoming a doctor, Lucky Trey, you're a doctor? Doctor of what? I was a musician. I can play, but when I joined a band as a good musician, I have to play the song the band is playing. I'm not doing a solo. Well, most bands aren't subbing musicians in and out consistently either, where certain band members can play an entire concert. Other band members are coming and going. Like, you don't have like 3 bassists for a band. You don't have 4 drummers for a band. So that's where you lose me with the analogy. Not to mention, again, with the exception of a 1 for 10 shooting night, no defense of that. It was a poor shooting night. Even though he was still second on the team in rebounding, he was a +5 in net rating, along with a group of other players who were in the positive, meaning they weren't playing bad basketball when he was out there. His defense. I don't see the bad performances in the other games. I don't follow that logic at all. It was one bad shooting night. I get it. But I just do not understand the herky-jerky treatment. It's never going to work. And again, the 5-minute Kerr soundbite, there was one piece that really stuck out to me. And I'll read it to you again verbatim what he said. Steve Kerr said, quote, "The combinations, the fit, all that stuff that's been going on for a few years. We know that. I'm not going to shy away from that. I think it's pretty obvious. I do feel for him that he has been sort of at the whim of my decision-making based on what I want to see from our team." And the moment I heard that, the whim, like, in other words, he's basically saying, like, I'm going to make decisions based on how I feel. And those decisions are going to happen all the time. And I feel bad that Kuminga is a victim of one of those decisions. But when I heard that quote, all I could think of was the movie Speed, the classic, the bus can't go below 55 miles per hour. Keanu Reeves.
You've been with us. You've seen the bus.
The whim of a madman.
And that's all I could think of, man. If you're gonna, when you say the word whim, I was like the whim of a madman, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. The great Dennis.
You've been with us. You've seen the bus.
The whim of a madman.
Anyways, we're not going to be playing that one that much, but Steve Kerr making decisions based on a whim. No surprise there. He rolls with his gut. I literally read off to you the best 5-man lineups that the Warriors have. We'll see if Steve Kerr follows that logic. I'm going to guarantee he will not. Look, if you're not going to play Kuminga, there are other players you can play, right? Will Richard should be getting heavy minutes. Quinn Post should be getting heavy minutes. DeAnthony Melton should be getting heavy minutes. And we're probably going to see that as he builds up his conditioning and his knee develops more strength. I'm a little surprised no one's talking about Seth Curry having one great game, right? His first game, 14 points, draining threes, missed one shot total. He played another game after that where his minutes were spot, and he was okay. It wasn't a good game for him, but I didn't see him hurting the team either. And then DNPs, and he's just to the bench. It isn't just Kuminga. There are clearly certain players who should be playing on this team, and those players more specifically. If you want to narrow it down to actual names, right? Steph goes without saying. Jimmy Butler, DeAnthony Melton, we just mentioned a moment ago. Moses Moody, who Steve Kerr even brought up in that attribution as someone who does not get consistent minutes. Draymond goes without saying, even though a growing contingent is coming out saying like he should be gone. Side note, while Draymond Green's name is brought up here, I did see a little tit for tat on social media earlier today between, I believe, Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports and Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, where Jake Fisher mentioned that the Warriors, if they can get Giannis Antetokounmpo, he believes, he didn't say it like it's a fact, but he said he believes the Warriors would trade Draymond Green to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. And side note, they'd have to include Draymond or someone with a similar salary structure to make the salaries match in order to make that trade work. But then you had a Brett Siegel of Clutch Points coming out saying, how many times do I have to tell you guys, Draymond Green will never get traded. And this is where I have to repeat myself again and saying, do not pretend Clutch Points is a bastion of journalistic integrity, and do not pretend Brett Siegel knows a damn thing. All right. Like Jake Fisher has established some credibility in this world. And side note, I can say this with absolute certainty without having a single source tell me a thing. If Giannis Antetokounmpo is available for the Golden State Warriors and you have to include Draymond Green in that trade to make the salaries work, they're going to include Draymond Green. You're not going to keep Draymond Green. And so if Giannis Antetokounmpo is on the table, that is one of the most asinine things I've read, and that's saying a lot when it comes to Twitter. Draymond Green.
If they did turn that down, that would just make them a bad front office.
What's up?
It would just make them a bad front office if they did turn that down.
It would be a horrible front office, and I don't know what that's saying. By the way, just to finish up the names, Will Richard should be playing. Quinn Post should be playing. Seth Curry should be playing. I wouldn't hate Trace Jackson Davis getting minutes. I wouldn't hate Guy Santos getting minutes. I just gave you 10 names of players that should be playing consistently. And when you look at the minutes for who gets to actually play, I guarantee there's names that I did not mention getting a bulk of minutes. And it's unfortunate, man. The Warriors have a head coach who's just lost his mind. I don't know, honestly, if he ever even had it to begin with. Keep in mind, again, going back to 2018, he was playing Quinn Cook over JaVale McGee and David West. He was also playing Swaggy P over those guys. There's a damn good reason they left and wanted nothing to do with the Warriors ever again when their asses left the front door. And it extends to that. Do you folks remember the Brad Wanamaker minutes? Do you folks remember the Michael Mulder minutes? Do you folks remember when Corey Joseph was briefly on this team and the minutes he was getting? This guy has no clue who to play. He is a lost soul out there, and he's making $18 million at least. I mean, I saw something that said 17.5, but then I read another story the other day that said he's making $19 million. He's getting paid that much to have this much power. It's asinine. This has never been about Kuminga, man. This has been about playing the right players. And when you look at this roster, Kuminga is one of the best players. But Steve Kerr, in his ludicrous way of thinking, thinks like hobbits should be getting minutes. Guys who just play like basketball's a hot potato. I think that's what Steve Kerr wants. He just wants a bunch of players who looks at the game of basketball and sees that childhood game that some of us played growing up, hot potato, where you're trying to get rid of something as soon as it gets in your hands. That's what he wants. And he thinks that presents value. It's asinine, man. It is crazy talk. Yeah, that's where we're at.
So I think about this. One of my first comments here, because I was looking at some more stats. In the first 20 games of to start last season, Kerr started Kuminga 3 times. He started Lindy Waters 7 times. So that can tell you like his thinking. And Lindy Waters is barely in the league. He's on the Spurs, I think. But his decision making for years just does not make sense. You know, you play your best players. That's it.
That's it. Plain and simple. Yeah. And I can't tell if this is being facetious or not. First of all, Seoul, again, the 1 of 10 shooting, Klay Thompson went 0 of 10, and Kerr gave him 32 minutes in a playing game that they lost. Would rather leave him out there so that they lose than make the necessary substitution. And again, that was one game. Important to note, in that same game, Steph and Curry did not even play. So are you gonna start pointing a finger at Steph now with your
wasn't a 3 for 6 game, overtime game? Yeah.
Toast God saying that Kerr likes connectivity ball and it's a fault, but he plays the right player when he has the right player. So in other words, if he doesn't have the right player, you're gonna just excuse the fact that he plays end of the bench guys because they fit his role of connectivity. Has it not occurred to you that maybe the problem is the head coach thinks nobody's the right guy except for like a select few? He's peculiar and picky and just like has a criteria that no one could manage. Like Steve Kerr represents the pickiest dater on the planet. He represents someone who, if he was a single bachelor, would look at a woman and go, oh, she's 5'7". I need 5'6" and below. Can't do 5'7". Oh, she has brown hair. I only date blondes. Can't do brown hair. That's how he rolls with his basketball players. So sorry, don't buy into that crap logic there that you're using to
apply. Well, I got to point to that. And
it's crazy, man.
I got to point to that. And someone in the chat saying he has 4 rings. That connector ball, and the only reason why we have he's let's see, the Real Truth 224. My point.
What time? Do you see the time? That's always the best way I could find these things.
It's like the most recent 1009, 1008. Yeah. Well, I would say to both of those points, that connector ball, the only reason why we have a chance of winning a championship is because of Steph Curry in that position and the crazy things that he does. Like he makes shots that are bad shots. That's not coaching, guys. When he makes 35 footer with 2 people on him and it's a rainbow shot, that's not coaching. All right.
That's and Julian, just real quick, yeah. Just before this sits on my screen too long here, saying Kerr has the resume with 4 rings. Look up K.C. Jones. K.C. Jones used to play for the Celtics. He won. How many rings did he win with them? I think he won 8 or 9 rings with the Celtics as a player, right? K.C. Jones then won another 3 rings coaching the Boston Celtics. Won a 4th ring coaching with Wilt's Lakers in the early 70s. Dude has 4 rings as a coach, 8 more as a player, 12 rings total. No one mentions his name because just like Steve Kerr, everyone who actually knows basketball is fully aware dude was writing coattails for every one of those rings. If Bill Russell doesn't exist, K.C. Jones has 0 rings as a player. If Larry Bird doesn't exist and Will Chamberlain, he has 0 rings as a coach. Ask Gary Payton how the K.C. Jones experiment went when the Seattle Supersonics hired K.C. Jones, I think in 1990, to coach a young up-and-coming team. He got fired halfway through the season because he had the same approach Steve Kerr has. Just all ego, all bluster, just pointing fingers and making decisions, ordering people around. And that team needed an actual coach, someone who communicates, someone who teaches, someone who leads, and he got fired before that season even ended. And George Karl came in, and that team went to the finals twice after that. My point is, those 4 rings mean jack shit. That was all Stephen Curry, man. Do not pretend those KD teams had anything to do with Steve Kerr. And that 2022 ring, Steve Kerr went the whole year pretending that, saying publicly, I don't expect this team to win a championship. He said after they won the ring, I didn't think we were going to win a championship. He didn't do a damn thing to win a championship. You know who was getting a lot of minutes that year? Juan Toscano Anderson and Damian Lee were getting heavy minutes that season. And they were gone after that year, never to be seen from again. He has no clue in terms of who to play when. And you can keep trying to defend him. I'll keep pushing back. It's utterly ridiculous to sit here and pretend that Steve Kerr is some genius as a head coach of the Warriors. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. He still has his job, man. It's crazy.
Someone said, who created the system that got Steph off the ball? I think you've had a guest to come on the show
12 years ago? Is that what we're bragging about? A system 12 years ago? You're still clinging to that? Never mind the fact that let me ask you this. Do you really think Stephen Curry doesn't figure it out without Steve Kerr? Because if you do believe that, that's an insult to Steph at that point. I've always said as well, Steve Kerr deserves the ring in 2015. Great. That was a 12 or 14. That was 12 seasons ago, man. Like, why don't you be a little relevant? Yeah. What has he done lately? Everyone else on this planet is judged as a working professional on what have you done lately. Do you know any coworkers who can say, well, 12 years ago I did this? No, that's not how the real world works, unless you're Steve Kerr. And this is where also the front office deserves some culpability for zero consequences for these asinine decisions. Joe Lacob publicly said he did not agree with moving on from James Wiseman. He didn't like the way Wiseman was coached, treated, developed, and that the Warriors might regret that. I don't know if they ever will in hindsight. I mean, but I can safely say Steve Kerr broke that man before he left. I don't remember James Wiseman his rookie year bobbling the ball and having possession difficulties. That's a mental thing. That's because bad coaching started to creep into his head. Doubt started to creep into his head. Zero young players developed under this man. The defense of him is asinine, and yet here we are. Sorry, Julian. Any final thoughts? Bad Hombre and Devin and Limbo want to come on.
Yeah, I'll just finish up this thought that you've had a guest that have said what Steve Kerr's record is without Steph Curry. It's like way below 500.
Real quick. Toast, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Julian, but Toast, come on the show. I'll post the link again. If you really believe that Steve Kerr's this genius, come on the show and defend him. Otherwise, if you want any respect from me about your opinions, I don't respect keyboard warriors. I do not have respect for people hiding in anonymity and talking shit at the same time, especially when you have an opportunity to reveal yourself and talk like a man or woman like adults. Come on the show. Please.
The real
link is there. Otherwise, shut the F up, man. I don't give me excuses. Don't give me excuses. Anyways, continue on, Julian. Finish up, please.
I was going to say, the real coaching geniuses are those that no matter what they have around them, they at least get over 500. And so you see that from Greg Popovich.
Nice job, by the way, where you can be on your phone all day, like stirring up shit, baiting on your phone, but you can't get on your phone and talk. Sorry, Julian. I can't let these things go. Also remember the ignorance. You also
remember Larry Brown. He would they all changed their coaching styles and would take a team that was seemingly nothing and make it work. Like, there's no reason why the Heat should have made 2 NBA finals. I know Jimmy Butler had some heroics, but a lot of that was Eric Spoelstra looking at his roster. You had players that were hitting threes that can't even get off the bench nowadays, like Caleb Martin and a few other people. That's a real coach. One person like 12 years ago that said, okay, this guy that can shoot, that's the greatest shooter of all time, if I just get him open, then and making that work. I think Derek Fisher, if he would have hired, because they both played under Phil Jackson, and so I think Steve Kerr took Phil Jackson's triangle and expanded it a bit and tweaked it for Steph Curry. Derek Fisher would have done the same thing. And Mike D'Antoni, he's never had great defensive teams, But you can't tell me that Mike D'Antoni couldn't win 4 championships with, especially the 2 with KD, when Mike D'Antoni almost beat the Warriors in a 7-game series if it wasn't for injuries to Harden and Chris Paul. So the idea that it's Steve Kerr's system that broke this team out, we should give him credit for identifying something, but he's not the only coach that would have identified. And I would say this, Mark Jackson did do a great job with defense and building this team. And I know that there are some attitude issues, but there's a lot of coaches with attitude issues. And I think there's a reason why Mark Jackson hasn't got hired since. It's not like he didn't want to coach. So there's something there when it comes to that. And my last point, Cy, is that we will have to play Kuminga for the next month. Because if his trade value is down, because like I think you had a guest the other day that said, oh, the first round pick from the Kings is off the table.
Yeah.
You need to play him to get some kind of increase in value. Kerr did say in his press conference that Kuminga practiced, he looked great, and he did all the things that he asked him to do. If I was Kuminga, just run the floor, forget about trying to be the point man with the ball in your hands. Just cut, run the floor, rebound, stay on the floor to get your value up. And I think so we're still going to see Kuminga for the next month, and it's just smart enough for Kerr to play it. Even the front office to tell Kerr, like, hey, listen, you've lowered his trade value. We're trying to get at least a first-round pick, put him on the floor for 20 minutes. And I'll leave it like that if you got other people.
Hamza King, you too, Julian. You were awesome. Hamza Kassem asking what my opinions will be if Kuminga gets a DNP against the Timberwolves. I'm done having opinions about that. If he gets a DNP, I will acknowledge it and then talk about the game. I'm at a point where the Kuminga thing is it's over. It's either he's going to get traded or he's going to get mistreated continually, like he has been for the last 3 years. But if you expect me to just sit here and acquiesce to Steve Kerr's apologist, F that. Or even better.
Fuck you.
Yeah. There is no defense of anybody who's incompetent at their job, and especially when their job affects this many people and you're getting paid this much for it. Not happening. I don't know how many times I have to say this. You're tuning into the wrong show if you want me to shake pom-poms and act like a cheerleader. Wrong show. You have every other show out there, 99% of them, to choose from. And the one other clown whose name I'm not going to mention, but people bring him up, hates Kerr for political reasons and thinks Guy Santos is better than Jonathan Kuminga. Okay. And side note, that same clown was a Sacramento Kings fan until 2013 when, oh no, look at this guy, Stephen Curry. He's so fun. I'm just going to abandon my team and change. What are you do? And that's the guy, some dude with zero journalistic credibility. And that's who a bunch of you actually can call yourselves fans of. Like, that's whatever, man. More power to you, but I don't get you either. Bad Hombre, you're on the program.
Hello, I was muted. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
Oh, man, Cyrus. Like I told you the other night, I think this thing it's not really about basketball. It doesn't feel like it's really about basketball. It really feels like something else is going on. The reason why I say this, I'm out here in DC, so I have to watch the Warriors on League Pass. It seems weird that the other teams' announcers speak more highly of JK than the Warriors announcers.
Yeah.
So,
because everyone else sees it. Everyone else sees it. It's about perspective, right? If you're an outsider, you have no, like Mark Haynes was so perplexed. Like you heard him, he's an outsider now, but he used to cover the Warriors. So he has a somewhat decent grasp of how this organization's run. No one outside of the Warriors gets this shit. Because it's so nonsensical. It's so bizarre. And yet Steve Kerr just can do whatever the F he wants. I would, how amazing, Omri, how amazing would life be for you if your job included that much freedom and zero accountability, where you could just coast off your past accomplishments at your coworkers, that your underlings, they did all the work and you get to enjoy all the rewards. It's insane.
Like that play.
The chat brought up, like, well, it's a system. It's like the system's amazing, and we just have to keep finding the right players for the system. Why not be a coach like Spoelstra? Why not be a coach like Greg Popovich, who adjusts the system depending on the talent?
Yeah,
Why does
because
it have to be this no matter what?
Cyrus, they
Crazy.
don't understand that this system worked so well because they had Steph, Clay, and then Jordan Poole. This system that they are so in love with is really, like I said, there's some nuances. It's set a screen past the Steph, even if you have a wide open dunk. That's their complex system. But
And Hamza comes out saying, if Kerr and I met, we'd square. No, we wouldn't. This is, again, Steve Kerr is professional enough and experienced enough. You heard him in that attribution say that he played for 6 teams to see how other media markets operate. And he knows how big of a joke the San Francisco Bay Area media market is, how soft they are. They ask no hard questions. The new Boston Celtics owner today, I don't know if you saw this story, called out the Warriors fan base, saying our fan base would never operate like this. It's because there's a good half of you that are just the most thin-skinned, the most oversensitive, the most fragile human beings on the planet. And look, it's no coincidence we're in the San Francisco Bay Area. This has been a stereotype of this region for decades, probably dating back to the 60s when the liberal revolution emerged and you had, the Grateful Dead and all that playing in San Francisco. And that's carried over into now, but it's not, it's true. It is very true. A large chunk of the Warriors fan base is insanely soft, and the media members reflect that. Like, God forbid someone holds Steve Kerr accountable. And I bring that up because I literally was just face-to-face with Steve Kerr 2 weeks ago when I asked him that question that we played on the show. This is not personal. He's the head coach of an NBA team. I'm a media member. I'm allowed to criticize the head coach. My criticisms, I think, are very valid. And just because I'm the only one doing it does not mean that I'm wrong. It means, as weird as this may sound, that the vast majority of the rest of this media environment, and you notice you never hear me criticize Anthony Slater. You don't hear me criticizing Nick Friedel, who's recently a new addition with The Athletic. They're doing a good job. I'm not going to criticize you just for the sake of criticizing you. I'm criticizing media members because you're all public figures. You have a job to do. When you're not doing your job, oh no, I called you out. The world's going to end now. Utter insanity, dude.
They have to be called out. And another thing I wanted to say, a lot of people, some people in the chatter keep going on about the 1 for 10, but those same people didn't have anything to say when Duke went 11 for 11.
And what about Austin Reeves the other day? I think he finished the game like 3 of 17 or something shooting. So are you just going to immediately jump to the conclusion that he should never play again? One bad shooting night, never mind the fact that he's leading the team in rebounds. Those same clowns last year were criticizing Kuminga for not grabbing boards. It's always going to be something with you douchebags, man. Always. You just hate the man and you love Steve Kerr. I get it. And more power to you. It's your right. But I'm sure as shit never going to stop pushing back against that level of ignorance because it's ignorant. It's ignorant to point out one game with one bad shooting night and lay that as a case study for why Kuminga should not be playing. You can do other things on a basketball court besides just shoot the ball. It's insane, man.
And one thing that I'm worried about is that this team, they have to get younger. They can't trade him for somebody older. They have to, right now, OKC is killing it. I heard on the radio today that their starting 5 that won the chip last year, that's starting 5 this season, when they're 23, and even though they're 23-1, they played 1 minute together, 1 minute this year.
Well, I think Kuminga and Moody have played 3 possessions together this year. It was 2 until somewhat recently. And I'm never going to forget that opening night closing lineup. In case you folks forgot, when the Warriors and Lakers played opening night, do you remember that closing lineup that had Steph, Jimmy, Dre, Kuminga, and Big Al Horford? And Steve Kerr comes out and says, or we learn after the fact that those 5 had never practiced together. And it required a suggestion from Chris DeMarco, who's now gone. Congrats to you, sir, for being head coach of the New York Liberty and getting a chance to actually, make a positive difference. And Terry Stotts, who would logically be the best individual to replace Kerr if you're going to do a midseason replacement. And it took a suggestion from those two to get it in Kerr's thick head. Like, hey, why don't you play the 5 best players? And I know Al Horford since then has looked awful, but you get the point. We know who the 4 best players are. If you think
you might
not one of the 4 best players, your basketball acumen is just not there, and that's okay too. You could be a casual fan who doesn't watch that often, and you're probably listening to the other media schlubs out there who will defend Kerr to the end, and you're being influenced very poorly. I get that, but if you pay attention to nuance, if you actually, there's no way you can defend Kerr. I don't see the logic behind defending Kerr's actions here. 0 young players developed in this tenure, man. 0.
Let me ask you this. Weren't the Celtics like a 500 team and then they made a coaching change and made the finals run a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken?
Say that again. I'm sorry, Ombre.
I said a few years ago, weren't the Celtics like a 500 team? And then right before the All-Star break, they made a coaching change and then they went on that run to the finals. Was that in 22 or when they won the chip? No, they were 500. I'm saying all that to say.
That was the. I don't think they made a coaching change. I don't recall that, but you're referring to the 2022 Celtics, who did have a very slow start to the season.
Yeah.
And I can't recall if there was anything specific that happened with that team, but yeah, the Celtics in 2022 did kind of switch a gear, like flip a gear in December, January. But I can't remember if anything specific happened. Like, I don't know if Ime Udoka replaced someone else midseason. I'm pretty sure Ime got fired in the offseason.
He got fired. Yeah, he got fired in the offseason. And Joe, I don't know his last name. The other guy took over. But this team, I think they do have a championship level roster, believe it or not, right now. Just a few tweaks. I really think they can.
In our chat is saying that they traded for Derek White, and that's when the switch flipped. And you might be right. Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah. Anyways, Omri, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, I don't think that the problem is the personnel. I think it's just, I don't really want to say it's 100% on Kerr, but I think that if you could just, look, these kids don't even know their role. They don't know their role. I'm talking about all of them. Moody, Richards, JK. If your role is to just set screens and pass the Steph, then Kerr needs to just tell them that's your role. What did Armando call that? The go home in the body bag program. If that's going to be your role, they don't have an identity. That's my only issue.
No, you're right. They still don't have an identity. And this is why I'm accusing a lot of people of recency bias, because I'm actually reading narratives that the team is developing an identity because they beat the Bulls, because Pat Spencer has had an unbelievable run. Don't be surprised, side note, if Pat Spencer gets relegated to the end of the bench again. Don't be surprised by that, because I do not envision Pat Spencer suddenly going ahead of Brandon Podziemski in the rotation. And when Stephen Curry is back playing, they all play the same position. So somebody's going to have to eat it. And I just don't. Podziemski is clearly Kerr's favorite boy. Like, there's no doubting that. Like, the amount of grace Podziemski gets from Steve Kerr compared to every other player on this team, it's astounding. It really is. And that's one of many things I'm paying close attention to Friday when they play the Timberwolves is, and look, maybe Draymond Green sitting out will make these decisions easier, because Steve Kerr clearly does not respect traditional positions for the most part, although he did say that Kuminga and Guy Santos play the same position, which is wild. It's like, I don't know why they can't be on the court together, but in Steve Kerr's mind, they can't. That's just one of his many imaginary rules he has in place. I can't play Kuminga and Guy Santos together. And if a reporter asks why, that's just not a good fit. Like, I feel like you can just use that excuse for anything in this world. Like, if you have a parent who goes, "Why didn't you do the dishes today, Mom? It wasn't a good fit. What like, why did you do work today? It just wasn't a good fit. It just wasn't, you know."
Do you think it's unreasonable that he might try to play Pat Spencer at the 5? I'm being half serious, half joking, but
Ombre,
I don't
be surprised.
No,
Ombre,
I could actually see it.
If you saw a lineup out there that was Steph, Podziemski, Pat Spencer, DeAnthony Melton, GP2.
No, that's his dream lineup. No, I wouldn't be surprised. That's what he wants to do. That's his dream lineup is 5 guards, 5 connectors. So yeah, I can see it happening. But I'm serious. They just have to make a change.
And I've said
they want to make
a deep playoff to the chat audience. Just, if you don't want to be a distraction, don't tell me how to do my job. Just don't bring me up. All right? Say all the shit you want about the Warriors. Say all the shit you want about Kuminga. the moment you start bringing me into the equation, if you're asking why you're getting banned or at least being put in timeout, that's what I do with a lot of people. I just give you a little 5-minute, like, chill the F out. Like, you're being a distraction. Don't talk about me. All right? Not a hard thing for you folks to do. Leave me out of your mouth. Plain and simple. If you don't want to be banned. Otherwise, you are distracting because the moment my name comes into the chat, now you're baiting. And I don't like taking the bait. So stop mentioning my name. All right? Plain and simple. I don't think it's a hard rule. Ombre, any thoughts? And Devil in Limbo, I apologize. I couldn't get to you. I'm going to bring, if they're serious, Kayeko. We'll see if they actually, who they are, if they're real. But any final thoughts?
Great show as always. And are you doing the after show tomorrow? After the game tomorrow?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to come back. But I'm on the East Coast, so it gets kind of late. But I'm going to try to stop in tomorrow. I'm in DC.
Oh, wow. Your Wizards are really bad, dude.
Hey, you know what? If JK was on the Wizards, the fan base would love him, and it would never be in this. Oh, he sucks. Blah blah blah. This team is garbage, man. But anyway,
is Alex Sarr at all available for trade? I mean, the Wizards did trade Denny Avdia a couple years ago. Is there any possibility, like, if the Warriors presented, let's say, Kuminga, Pajemski, and a first-round pick?
Man, I don't know.
Or is Alex Sarr completely off the table?
I don't know with this team. It just seems like, okay, here's the thing. Right now they play in downtown DC. They're trying to build a new stadium in Maryland. So with that being said, I don't know what this team is trying to do aside from trying to move to Maryland. Other than that, I would say sure, but they don't have a clue either. So I don't know what's going on with them. Okay.
Have a great night. All right.
All right. Okay. You too. Take care.
Ombre, you're awesome, brother. Thank you so much. And let's bring Kayeko. Is that your name? Kayak?
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, my fault because like I'm outside right now.
Okay.
Hopefully you can hear me good.
I hear you good. What's up? What's on your mind?
I just came here to talk about like Kuminga, and I'll keep it short and quick.
Go for it. No, keep it short. Take your time, man. There's no rush.
Yeah. No, I mean it's just I'm not really trying to take up like any extra time.
You're the last guest. The moment you're done, we're wrapping up the show. So take your sweet time, man. There is zero rush.
Hey, it's a lot of things I'm like down to talk about, but like the main stuff I think with Kuminga, it's really about like, look, man, I think if Curry like really wanted to play with JK, he would have been playing. Like that's the first step we should all
Kayeko, and apologies if at any point you feel like I'm interrupting you, but it's only because I want to address each individual point instead of you running like 5 different points on me. Let's start there. Why do you assume that Steph would speak up for any player, let alone Kuminga?
And that's the thing, you know, like, bro, I saw like a clip of him in at like half, and Kerr is about to put like JK in, and then Curry is like, nah, I want Gee. So it's like,
okay, let me stop you there. That's a clip from a year ago, right? We don't know. Hold on. We don't know if Kuminga was the victim of that situation, but that was a very rare anomalous possession where Steph was yelling for Gee because he had a great game. It was just an intuitive moment where Steph was literally yelling for Gee Santos to come back in and I think finish the game. That all I can tell you about that is that's a one-off. We don't know if Kuminga was the one who would have lost his minutes as a result. And I can tell you this with certainty. Stephen Curry, when on a daily basis, on a regular basis, is not telling the coaching staff their job. Stephen Curry is a stay in your lane type dude. He is not someone who's interested in being a captain of the team, a player on the team, and also a coach of the team. And rotational decisions are a coaching decision. What I'm trying to say here is Stephen Curry, and look, maybe he deserves some blame for this, right? Maybe he deserves blame in the sense that he should be speaking up to Steve Kerr more often. Same goes for Draymond Green. Jimmy Butler, I mean, look, if this keeps going, who knows? Maybe he will. But don't let that one game make you believe that Steph is routinely involved in rotational decisions. Because I can assure you for a fact, because I've literally asked a million people behind the scenes this, that Steph never meddles in rotational decisions. That is a coaching decision, and there is a very hard line between player and coach when it comes to those rotations. We also have heard from interviews from and Draymond Green on his podcast is very forthright. He's brought up instances where Steve Kerr will come to them and ask them for advice, right? And they do talk. But what they never talk about is minutes. And that sucks. I really wish they would, but they're not talking about that. And the why of that is, again, Steph has a million things going on in his life, 4 kids, a wife, an entertainment company, still one of the best players in the NBA. Dude has a plate that's stacked beyond relief. Like none of us can comprehend what that kind of life is like. And the last thing he's interested in is adding coaching, adding meddling with rotational decisions to his plate. Should he? Yes. Does he? I can tell you with certainty, no.
I agree on that, and that's like really my main gripe with Curry is that like every single time like I think it goes like wrong, it's always him being like too scared to speak up about it, and it's usually Draymond. And I think that's part of the reason why Steph loves like Draymond. It's because Dre is like the type of dude, like especially like you know, like he's like the type of dude who's like always gonna say what like everyone's like thinking. And I think it doesn't really force Steph to make that like choice and put him like out there in the media, right? And it's just how he is. Like I'm not gonna hate him for it, but he's too humble, you know, and I think the reason for that too is because aside from Draymond, I think the system is met or it was created to help Steph, and I think he feels like wanted and like belong because as a person who like played sports, bro, like every star player wants to be loved like by their coach basically, and like the coach keeps them cozy and runs like plays for them, and like you know, and it's like Steph and Steve are connected like at the hip, so it's like I just don't know how and it goes beyond that, right? Because like Steph, he's kind of like made his mark, like he's earned those minutes, he's earned that spot, and he's still averaging like 28 a game still. So
he's still putting up points, yeah. By the way, what do you think? How do you pronounce her name, just so I get it right?
It's Keikio.
Keikio, thank you. Keikio, what do you think about Julian Bashir's trade proposal? And it's a big one. He's proposing trading Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, Al Horford, Brandon Pajemski. The Will Richard part is that I love this. I love Will Richard, dude. If you folks are sick of me praising Kuminga, wait until Will Richard starts getting more experience under his belt. And then if he's treated like this under Kerr, you're going to hear the exact same shit again. Let's hope Kerr's not a part of this big picture. But the Will Richard part is the only thing I'm hesitating on. Adding a 2026 first round pick, 2027 swap. So you're giving the moon to the Milwaukee Bucks, but you're getting back Giannis Antetokounmpo and Miles Turner. What are your thoughts on that, Kayoko?
I'd be okay with that, but as I said, like I think Draymond is also kind of a made man. I think like the 3 big like people who are on the trade block. It's of course a JK, but also Pods and potentially Moody and Buddy Hield, right? And I think had they played better, we wouldn't really have this issue. And another thing, which leads me like into my next point, I think JK is the type of dude who can give you 20, 25 and like, or maybe even like 30 points based on like matchup plays. Like he needs stuff ran for him. And I think, as I said, he hasn't really made his mark. Like initially he wasn't handled right, but I think we're at the point where it's like in that Pelicans game, like he could have easily made an impact. He didn't, but like I excused it because everyone else was playing bad. And then the Sixers game, that was bad. And then the Orlando Magic game, that was also bad. So it's
Hey,
like, I think
real quick, Kayoko, sorry to interrupt. Just 1 second. Bear with me. I want to add as well that I forgot who reported it, but apparently in practice, either yesterday and or today, they were working on inbound plays because of those exact games you're referencing, which begs the question: why have you not been working on that? Like what is going on? To everything I hear about the Warriors behind the scenes and otherwise tells me that the problem is coaching, and why Steve Kerr just continues to float untouched. Man, it's insane. I've never seen anyone else enjoy this level of comfort and security in a position making that much money with that much power. It's insane. You have to practice your inbound passing like now, but they did. Sorry, Kayoko. Go get it.
Yeah, and it's like, and another thing to point out is that, yeah, like JK, like I admit he's not like a bad player, and he does. The only issue is that he needs plays, and I think he's a good player. I don't think he's gonna be the keys to the franchise, and it's because players who usually have keys to the franchise, or are called, keys to the franchise, they thrive even in garbage like coaching. They thrive even in bad matchups. Like we saw this with Lillard, Giannis, Luka, Braun at one point. So, and I just don't think JK is like that, So that's really my opinion on it. And if he really was that guy,
it's a good opinion. And if you don't mind, here's a little more perspective on that opinion, just so we can have a more clear and complete picture here, talking about Kuminga and the way you described how he plays. Because you're right, like the constant gripe about Kuminga is consistency. And Steve Kerr said that himself the other day. He goes, "I wish he was more consistent." And my pushback to that consistently, no pun intended, is no young player, like virtually none, can give you consistency from the get-go as a rookie, especially in Kuminga's case where he came into the game as an 18-year-old. Nobody's going to be giving you consistency if you don't give them consistent minutes to learn how to be consistent, right? That's one. And two, I have not seen like the Warriors ever suffer in just letting Kuminga get the minutes and play through the inconsistencies, meaning when he actually is given a free rein, when he doesn't have a leash on him, when he knows he can play, and that's rarely happened, right? The playoffs last year, I think, were the best case for that, evidence-wise. When he's given a free rein and he's given the minutes, he's consistently produced. But when you're forcing a guy to basically either show up and give you consistency, like right off the bat in your first 5 or 10 minutes of playing time, and they don't always do that, you're setting that person up for failure. Like you're setting them up to never succeed consistently, because nobody's going to develop like that. Nobody has ever developed like that. You look at every single star in this game, every single one, and you look at the beginning of their careers, none of them were treated like this. And none of them were giving you consistent production early in their careers. They had to play through it, man. They needed 35 minutes a night learning as they're doing, because that's the best way to teach and learn. And eventually the consistencies started to emerge, right? And you saw them grow, and you saw the game slow down for them. The fact that Kerr never does this with any of these young players, Brandon Podziemski excluded, but is Podziemski a star? I mean, is he ever going to even make an all-star game? No. So the formula for Kerr is what I'm critiquing. Like, if you're expecting consistency from a young player who's never gotten consistent minutes, good luck. It's never going to happen. Like name one player who would do that. I beg the audience, find one player who actually would. Like NKN in the chat saying Kuminga's not a star. No shit. Name one star who got treated like he did and became a star. Name one. I'll wait forever for that, because I know you're not going to have an answer. I've done the research. Every single star every single star player early in their careers were given minutes to learn. That's what the minutes is about. And if Kuminga was playing absolutely awful in these stretches where sometimes he's not consistent, I'd maybe buy into the rhetoric that, okay, pull him and put someone else in. I don't see the horrible play. Just because one game he was 1 of 10 shooting does not represent to me a massive body of work where he's always out there shooting like that or always out there producing poorly like that. No, I don't see that. And I'm not going to sit here and base one game as an entire sample size for a player. That's the crux of my complaint, is he just needs minutes. He just needs to stay out there without the worry of a head coach pulling him for one mistake. That's never going to, you're never going to get greatness from that. I don't know how you could. Am I making sense?
Yeah. So I got like 2 points to like,
Please.
I don't know if I would call it like rebuke it, but it's like, right, especially as a person who's like, or who does currently like do sports, the way that like a coach like sees like a player, like it's far different than the way that we as like an audience like sees a player. And I think everyone like in the chat can agree with that. Like, with that being said though, in basketball especially, like, you're not really given, especially if you're like put into a team, you're not really given like immediately like 30 minutes a night, because you kind of have to like work your way up and like earn it. And I think with JK,
not true. That's not true. The name one, give me any star player. I'll go look at his minutes and tell you that he was getting 30, 35 minutes either in his rookie year or second year and allowed to play through bad games. Name one star, and I'll go through his history right now and tell you that is not how he was treated. Name one, and I'll give the evidence. Otherwise, I'll sit here and say, unless like you're signing role players, which Kuminga was not drafted to do, that is, you're poorly using him if you're going to treat him like a role player. And again, I don't see the detriment in giving him 30 minutes. There's no evidence that tells me that that's the way to handle this. But look at, if you name one. I hear what you're saying about like youth sports or a certain level of organizational sports. At that top level, like the NBA, which is what we're talking about here, there is no player who started their career, like someone in the chat said 5 years. It ain't the years, it's the mileage. It doesn't matter how many years he's been on the team. Sitting there and watching from the bench is no different than a fan sitting courtside watching the game. And you think fans sitting courtside are just automatically learning how to be amazing basketball players? F no. They got to play, man. It's insane. Am I making sense on that, or do you still disagree, Kayoko? And that's okay if you do. I'm just trying to make sense. That's my goal.
I agree with it. Like, I think especially like Halliburton, like if you look at his like playoff run, I think that's a great example. Like I'm sure you watched like all the playoffs last year, and it was kind of like he was able to like play through every mistake, and he had some really, really bad shooting nights, but it was more so of his like leadership, and I think maybe that's why he was able to play through that. But with Kuminga, we drafted him. Honestly, I think I'm going to go off on like a bit of a tangent here. We kind of
before you do that, Kayoko, real fast, Tyrese Halliburton, his rookie year played 30.1 minutes per game. His second year, 34.5 minutes per game. Third year, 36.1 minutes per game. Any star player that you present to me as a potential comp to JK in terms of like being treated like this, I will prove to you there is no comp. You got to give these guys minutes if they're going to ever be a star. And my whole point with this premise is no player under Steve Kerr is ever going to become a star, ever. Because the way Kerr treats the young players, that is not the recipe for development, man. It's not. You can never develop talent. And more specifically, even more specifically than that, I look at JK's rookie year. Why was Kuminga not getting more minutes instead of Juan Toscano Anderson? I look at Kuminga's second year. Why was Kuminga not getting more minutes for Anthony Lamb? I look at Kuminga's third year. Why was he not getting more minutes for JaMychal Green? Do you see a pattern here? Do you see why, to me, there's only one person who's the problem? Steve Kerr? Or am I still not making sense? It's okay if I'm not.
No, like I see a pattern, but I just feel as though like I think with Halliburton, correct me if I'm wrong, but like they were more or less trying to build around him, and they did, right? That's why they were able.
No, the Kings had he was surrounded. Remember the Kings also had De'Aaron Fox. So they were trying to juggle that 2 point guard lineup, and they found a way to give minutes to both. before they traded Halliburton stupidly, I might add. That was just a dumbass trade.
Yeah, okay. My fault. My fault.
I'm not
But-
judging,
but-
man. I appreciate this discussion because I feel like what you're bringing to the table is what a lot of these Kerr apologists are also like their mindset, and I'm hoping to provide some clairvoyancy here in terms of like why I'm so damn frustrated about this. It's like it's just Kerr's formula is an asinine formula. It was great 12 years ago. 12 years ago. Kayoko, how old are you? Do you mind if I ask that?
I'm turning 20 in like a month.
So the
it's like-
last the last time Steve Kerr made sense, you were 8 years old.
I mean,
That's why
when you
I
put it
didn't
like
give an
that,
F about 12 years ago. That was a long ass time. That was a lifetime ago for some of you, man. And that's what a lot of these people cling to. 12 years ago, he brought the system that made Stephen Curry go from a perennial postseason player and all-star to a champion. Great. 12 years ago. That's awesome. I'll give Steve Kerr all the credit in the world for 12 years ago. What have you done for me lately, man? What have you done for me since 2019? I don't see shit.
yeah, and look, like on my two takes on like the whole like system fit, I think any player can be brought into like a system and like an organization. I just think it's more like, how do I explain it? Kind of like the Warriors like motion offense. I think it's heavily relied on like IQ, and I just don't think like JK has that. And I'll like explain why. Because it's like, bro, as I'm watching the tape, like just the other night, I think it was the Cavs game, and I don't know what got into JK's head, but
Well,
I
that was the
think
1 for 10 game. Yeah, which is like the worst example. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think it was more of a like mental thing because he was going out there and it looked like he was trying to play like bully ball. Like it looked like he was trying to like prove to Kerr like, hey, you know, like I can score. So I don't want to hold that too much against him. Like I admit, like I was like,
Kayoko, do you remember who was defending him for a lot of those drives?
no, I don't. I'm
The
sorry.
reigning defensive player of the year, Evan Mobley. And now, was it wise of Kuminga to do that? No. But should we judge him for eternity for that one game? I say no. Someone in the chat's also bringing up 2022, like that was a Steve Kerr operation. What did Steve Kerr do in 2022? Do you realize in the last 7 years there are only 2 coaches who still have their jobs? Let me addendum that. In the last 7 years, there are only 2 head coaches who won a championship who still have their jobs. Joe Mazzulla and Steve Kerr. One title in the last 7 years does not have the relevancy you think it does. I will not denigrate Stephen Curry, who's almost single-handedly carried that team, and pretend that Steve Kerr is the reason why. When Steve Kerr in that regular season was giving minutes again to players like Juan Toscano Anderson and Damian Lee, instead of giving those minutes to Moody and Kuminga so they could develop and by now be star players. Like it's the 2022 thing is asinine, man. I will not give Steve Kerr credit for that, and we could agree to disagree otherwise. Continue on, Kayoko.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Just to chip onto that, I don't have anything against like Steve Kerr. Like he seemed like the dude seems like a cool guy. Like I'd be lying if I told you he's like, okay, cool, like, you know. But yeah, but that 2022 chip, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was mostly Mike Brown. Like either way, like we can beat around the bush, but he played a crucial role, and he was our head defensive coach, I think, and he helped a lot with the rotations, which is why I think we were like 3rd in defense and like 8th in offense or something like that. So just an absolute powerhouse. And then I mean, when you get like playoff Curry and like Jordan Poole and then Wiggins too, like they incorporated him and just it fit perfectly. But and that was like my favorite chip, like by far. But
Kayoko, just to add to that, I agree with you that Steve Kerr does define cool. I wish that, but unfortunately, that's not a criteria, a variable for someone being a head coach in the NBA. Like it's great that he's a cool guy. Like he's a surfer. He sounds chill. If you ever meet him in person, you know, like you'll get a very mellow vibe from the man. But that means nothing in terms of being a head coach, right? I mean, those are 2 entirely separate things. The Mike Brown part of it, I'm 1,000% with you. Mike Brown, besides just being an awesome dude behind the scenes, like I'll let all of you in on a tiny little secret here. Mike Brown was the source for a lot of people for stories, man. Mike Brown is very affable. He's very personable. He'll give you his phone number in 2 seconds. And a lot of the sources types of things that came out in that era was Mike. No, he didn't leak anything wrong, but I'm just saying he was that friendly of a dude. And also a huge reason why a lot of us know so much about what went on behind the scenes with the Warriors. Mike Brown was also from a work ethic perspective, whereas Steve Kerr is, like you said, cool. And that also means laid back, right? Work ethic is not something that Steve Kerr is synonymous with. Work ethic is something that Mike Brown was synonymous and is synonymous with. Dude sleeps on his couch in the office. Dude dreams basketball. Dude doesn't have a fantasy basketball team or doesn't care about White Lotus coming up or has a Baja surf sessions on his mind for the summer. Like, all Mike Brown cares about is hoops. Like, his brain, if they did an MRI and his brain came out as basketball, I'd believe it. If it was shaped and had all the lines and everything, I believe it. Mike Brown, it just lives and breathes basketball. I'm 1,000% with you that his departure played a massive part in everything that's been happening since. I really do believe that.
Yeah, that I was devastated like when I saw that, especially like the run that we made like in that playoffs, and it's like GP2 like fractured his elbow and like we still ended up winning. And he would, bro, anyone who like doesn't believe me, like GP2 was our guy. Like he was our POA, I think, like during, or like at least a key crucial piece along with like Otto Porter, I think. So yeah, I don't know, that really killed me. But back to JK.
And real quick, hold that thought for 1 second, because I just want to address all the Kerr apologists. Like NKN is clearly a huge Steve Kerr fan. It doesn't like what I'm saying, and that's fine. But I'm going to push back on all your arguments because there is a counter to all of them. And this one, for example, damn, Kerr helped bring a gold medal but didn't play Tatum. Kerr didn't do jack shit for that gold medal. Stephen Curry, like the 4 championships, did all the work. And if you think Steve Kerr is a genius because of the Olympics, then you also should pay attention to the FIBA Cup a summer before. He was the head coach of that team. That team was not stacked like the Olympic team was. And you know who he was starting at the beginning of that tournament? He was starting Austin Reeves over Anthony Edwards. And then Anthony Edwards was like, what the hell are you doing? And then second game on, he became a starter. In the final game, the game that they lost, that they did not even medal in, dude was playing Josh Hart at the center position while guys like Cam Johnson and Bam Adebayo were sitting on the bench going, what did I do? That's how Steve Kerr rolls. He is not the genius you think he is. And if the Olympics are your example of that, then take a look a year earlier to the FIBA Cup, a team that did not even medal, a team where Steve Kerr again thought 6'4" Josh Hart should be playing center, and Austin Reeves in his mind was the best player as evident by the minutes. That's how Steve Kerr rolls. Continue on. Talk about Kuminga. I know you had another thought on your mind about that.
Yeah, I actually got like 2 things. So
Please.
The first part is I loved how like JK played like during that Wolves series, and I think the reason why like me and like all the fans have been so harsh and basically just told, you know what, man, like he's not really gonna do his thing here, and I think he wants a coach that's gonna treat him like a star. And I mean, it's just kind of tough, especially Steph, Jimmy, Dre, and now you got Melton back, and Melton is like what, like how long has he been in the NBA? He got drafted a while ago. Yeah, and Melton is obviously.
Who's your fifth guy? You said who's your fifth guy? You said Kuminga. First of all, Melton was not available until about a week ago, so that doesn't explain the entire season up to that point. But for the sake of argument, you said the top 4 players in your book is Steph, Butler, Dre, and Melton. Who's 5?
And then number 5, honestly, I think that 5th spot, like especially with how inconsistent like this roster is, it's more of like who can go out there and really just give you those valuable minutes. And I love like Will Richard, but I think he's more of a like lead unit guy, like bench unit guy. He's not I just don't think he's at that level yet where he can create his own shot. I think once we get him to create his own shot, then yeah, he's definitely like a starter on like most teams, right? But that fifth spot, it's looking more like post. I won't lie.
So it's like so in your book, and that's fine. So in your book, it's a by committee type thing.
Yeah, and that's the issue with it.
Here, look. Here's the thing. Look, Jonathan Kuminga's name would probably, first of all, congrats to Steve Kerr for normalizing the DNPs, because that's what he did. He's officially made it so when the next time we get a DNP from Jonathan Kuminga, no one, myself included, is going to talk about it. We'll acknowledge it, say it happened, and then move on. Congrats, Steve Kerr, for doing that. You just normalized it. Great. I would not care about the Kuminga DNPs because he's clearly on the way out. It would shock me if he stayed, man. That would be a mind-blowing thing if Jonathan Kuminga is not traded January 15th. I would not care so much if Brandon Podziemski wasn't third on this team in minutes. I wouldn't care so much if Buddy Hield wasn't either starting and or closing every game. I wouldn't care so much if GP2 wasn't ahead of Kuminga in the rotation, which is a fact. That's how Kuminga and GP2 are treated now. GP2 is ahead of him. And that's wild to me, man. A 6'2" guy who's not the same defender, who offensively can't really do shit except play hot potato, he's ahead of Kuminga? Like, that's insane to me. But those three guys are routinely ahead of Post, ahead of Will Richard, ahead of Moses Moody, ahead of Seth Curry, ahead of Pat Spencer. That is a massive issue where we don't have to bring up Kuminga's name once, and there's still huge issues with the rotation. Do you like the Podziemski minutes?
Wait, pardon?
Do you like the Brandon Podziemski minutes? Do you like the fact that Brandon Podziemski's third on the team in minutes?
Bro, my brother is even telling me like no, because yeah, like man, we hate like pods, and that's really like my main issue too. And if you look at like the guys who are on the like trade block, it's more
Dude, you're funny. Kayako, where are you in the world, by the way? Are you in the Bay?
No, I live in Canada, so you'd expect me to be a Raptors fan, but it's because I got put on like basketball and mainly the Warriors.
Where in Canada? Because I love your country. I have family born and raised there, so I go visit Toronto all the time. I lived on Vancouver Island for nearly 4 months one summer just to surf. And I found an apartment with my then ex and just called it home. And I got a job on a little radio station there and was doing a radio show once a week. That was a whole other life. My point is, Vancouver, Canada is one of the greatest cities in the world. Toronto is one of the greatest cities in the world. Vancouver Island, which is the size of the United Kingdom, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Where in Canada are you? I'm a huge fan of your country.
I live in Ottawa, so it's like
the capital.
Yeah,
I hear great things about it, man.
Yeah, okay.
And you do have the what's your team? The Senators, right? Is that your NHL team?
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, how's life in Ottawa, man? Are you happy? Is it a good scene?
It's boring, and it's I'm in like finals right now, like with a university, so it's exhausting. It's really cold over here, but
hang in there. I literally canceled finals for the 2 classes I teach at San Jose State just because I was hearing from so many students who were like, dude, I'm stressed. This is like the hardest semester I've ever had in my life. Like, the job market is shit. So a lot of students are having to, pay their bills while go to school. So I was like, you know what? You guys just no finals. You're good. I'm here for you. Good luck. You have my contact information. Reach out anytime. I hope you have at least one professor who's being a little lenient on you guys, because these aren't easy times right now.
Yeah. But about like Pods is like minutes. It's more like I'm happy that he's finally on the trade block, but I think he's like the one dude that you can confidently like say, okay, this dude's been given like basically the most amount of leeway, and I think it's because Pods, he's like a happy dude, and like I don't really have anything against him. He's like a good kid, and I've heard that like he goes to practice. Even when he plays bad, he doesn't really get put on edge, and he cheers his team on. Like, we always see him and Moody even cheering on when we go on those like runs, despite them playing bad. Like, they don't let that like dictate their actions. And above all else, I think they're just happy to like buy into the idea of like giving Steph the ball. Like they're not the type of people who are gonna make a huge deal and like ask about or like tell the coaching staff, hey, like I want my minutes. Hey, I want this. Hey, I want that. And but honestly, I still think he's been given way too much leeway. And I think the moment I like noticed that, it was when he was playing basically all of the minutes during that Wolves and that Rockets series, and then Steph got injured, and it's like you'd think he'd play good, but he was playing bad even with Steph. And then once Steph went down, all hell just like broke loose, and then we had to rely on like JK. And then by the time JK did like prove himself to be worth it, like our whole momentum, I think it was game 3. It was like Jimmy Butler and JK scored like 68. It was insane. Not one
that game
person.
was a heartbreaker, man, because that was their best hope. That was their best hope, and
we lost by 5 points. So it's like if
I know that game broke my heart, man. Look, Kayoko, you're awesome. You're young enough where I'm guessing you call the 1990s and 80s all the stuff the 1900s, which is an insane thing, but it just goes to show we're all going to get old. Even you someday, you will be old before you know it. So enjoy your youth right now. But I ask you this, as someone who's in college, as someone who may or may not, I have 2 questions for you before you go, Kayoko. One, have you ever seen the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
No, I think I've heard of it though, but no.
Because there's a character who you remind me of a little bit, and this is a compliment. He's one of my favorite film characters ever. His name is Jeff Spicoli. He's like a surfer stoner, based on a real person, by the way. Sean Penn played his character, and you remind me a little of him. And again, that's a good thing in my book. Yeah, you're endearing to me. And 2, as a college student, as someone who's literally striving to build your critical thinking skills, who's striving to develop your acumen and become a smarter person in this world, is there a trade in mind that you have for Kuminga? Like, is there something out there that you would love for the Warriors to do in terms of a trade that would give the Warriors a shot this year and help them in the future?
Honestly, I think we blew our chances like with that.
Oh no.
Because like,
oh no.
Hear me out. Like if you look at our like past draft picks, we passed up on.
Oh, hey, you.
Sorry, I'm just kidding. That was a Canadian. That was my Canadian way of saying "f you," but I'm saying that jokingly. Don't take it personally or seriously. I just love playing that soundbite. Period. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Kayoko. You're awesome.
No, yeah. Like if you look at like these past like few years, like our draft capital has just been awful. Like like we drafted Kuminga as a lottery pick. That didn't really go anywhere. James Wiseman, that didn't really go anywhere. Pods, 19th pick, and we all know how that went. Moody, 13th pick, and then I think I'm missing like one more. But that's
14,
like
it was 14, but who cares? Yeah, same shit. In terms of like high draft picks over the last few years, I mean,
yeah, like we should have honestly like given how we handled like all these young players and how we want like high IQ guys. It's not like we can't just like draft these people and expect them to fit perfectly into their roles, especially. And not only that, like we drafted Pods in hopes that he can be a 44% shooter.
Yes.
And hit the floor, rebound. He's not even doing that. And so
not the shooting.
Yeah, and so if I had to like make a good pick, I know a lot of people want like Miles Turner. I don't really know. He's having like an awful year. So I don't know
I haven't looked at his numbers since he went to Milwaukee. Let's look him up.
Like, yeah, they're drastically down like this year compared to the Pacers year, and it's like I don't even know if I'd be willing to take that chance.
He doesn't excite me. Like of the names that I hear linked to the Warriors potentially, like Kristaps Porzingis, hell no. Not unless it's free, but that's not going to be free. So hell no. Miles Turner this season. I'm glad you brought his name up because I have not looked at his stats on the year. playing 28.7 minutes per game. He's scoring 12.6 points per game. The 3-point shooting's good at least. He's shooting it at 39.2% from deep, grabbing 5.7 boards, 1.6 blocks. But the scoring is below his career average of 14 points per game. The rebounding is below his career average of 6.7 rebounds per game. And I'm with you, man. Miles Turner, like, it's all right. Like, if Steph was even like 3 years younger, I'd pounce on that. I'd be like, you go do that now. But Steph turning 38, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think, to me, we need like two main things. And one of them is like a bucket getter, right? Because consistency has just been terrible. Like a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's the defense." We're like top 5 in defense, like in the NBA.
Third, which is insane,
yeah. So
right?
yeah, even better. Like I don't really think the defense has much to do with it, especially once we get like Draymond and we can play him in like chunks of minutes with Post and maybe Gee. But
what are your thoughts, by the way? And this is the suggestion that literally is making every Kuminga hater's head like borderline explode, like figuratively speaking, which is a very real possibility, and that's why it's making their heads explode. Simon 2 in the chat saying, just keep Kuminga and wait it out with Kerr until the summer. And look, I don't think that's going to happen, partly because usually what I want doesn't happen. So I guess I'm being cynical. That's what they call that. But Simon, but look, who knows what Joe Lacob's thinking? I'm dying to know what he thinks about all this. He can't be happy about any of this. Like they just paid Kuminga $22 million this year so he could be DNP'd. Like, are you out of your mind? So that what are your thoughts on Kayoko on what Simon 2 is saying? Because there is a real possibility this could happen, which is Kuminga goes nowhere, and then the front office just waits till the offseason, and then they come up with a creative way for Steve Kerr to resign on his own, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I guess we could do that, and I haven't really heard any talks about like them extending like Steve's contract, and I think he's made it very clear. Like, and plus he's a made man. Like, I don't think he wants to stay coaching like forever. But with that being said, like if had Kuminga's contract been like tradable, like the day the trade market like opened up, we could easily get like Trey Murphy, especially with all our assets. And I think we're in that weird.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're in that.
Interested in him, by the way.
Pardon?
Are you aware of because there's one particular team who reportedly is interested in Trey Murphy. Look, Trey Murphy is one of the best case scenarios, right? In terms of what you can get back for Kuminga. But the moment I learned that the San Antonio Spurs want him, and goddamn, does that thought scare me, because Trey Murphy alongside Wemby is perfect. It's like exactly what the Spurs need is Trey Murphy. And then you surround him and Wemby with your 3 guards, Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle, Harrison Barnes coming off the bench. Vasil is the supposed trade asset. The Spurs also have way more draft capital than the Warriors. My point is Trey Murphy is going to be very highly sought after. I would love him on the Warriors. I don't know how realistic that is. Would you be excited for Herb Jones?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, like as long as we can get a consistent bucket getter. Like I saw MPJ, and he's having like a great year on the Nets. Especially him alongside Curry, like that would like be interesting. But it's more like we're in this weird spot where we can continue to like build or like try quote unquote like developing with our current roster, but obviously that's not going to happen. Or we can pivot with all our draft capital, and we have some assets, like especially with JK. There's a lot of teams that we could match like contracts with, and I think our first round picks, like I saw something where we had a chance to be in a lottery pick, and I think a lot of teams are like more than willing to like take that. So And I'm not sure. I don't know how all out the Spurs are willing to go for, but knowing like how Mike Dunleavy and how he immediately signed Curry like after that awful, just horrendous Pelicans game. And even though we won, granted it was by 8 points against like the worst team in the NBA. So
I remember.
Yeah,
that.
that's and I actually like him as a front office or like a GM, right? And he's not bad. And knowing how he like operates, I know he's the type of dude who's trying to build around Curry. And yeah, and especially how Curry is playing, like I think it would be different if he's only scoring like 15, but he's scoring 28. So yeah, just get a consistent bucket getter, preferably a wing, or just another elite like POA. But honestly, I'd much rather a bucket getter, especially if we're third in defense in the league. And yeah.
And Hamza Kassem in the chat saying, if the Warriors can somehow pair up Giannis, Steph, and Jimmy, who's stopping us? Nobody.
No one, yeah.
I mean, look, realistically, I think Giannis is going to Miami. That would be my guess. I know there's a bunch of teams out there being mentioned, but Miami, that is what I would, because ultimately it's going to come down to who Giannis wants to play for. That's really what's going to decide all this. Like, where does he want to go?
Yeah,
if he wants to go to the Warriors, he's going to the Warriors. I just don't know how real that is. And all these players love Miami, man. They want that weather and the lifestyle, and it's closer to Greece. So, anyways, Kayoko, you were awesome, brother. I hope we hear from you again. Anything you want to plug or promote, because you were phenomenal.
Yeah, I got Instagram. My Instagram is just like my YouTube name, or like the name right now. It's just KAYEKEO. KAYEKAO or EO? No, EO.
Okay, EO. Yeah. So KAYEKEO. What's on your YouTube channel? What can people expect if they subscribe to your channel? What are you producing?
It's more Instagram, but like,
okay.
I'm like, yeah, I'm heavy into like music and like stuff like that. Like, I'm trying to be an artist like alongside my like degree, and I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Electric music, or do you play an instrument? Like, what kind of music are we talking?
No, more producing hip hop, just like stuff like that, really, man.
So you know how to build a beat using use Pro Tools?
I don't. I want to, and I know it's considered industry standard, but no, I've used I think I've used Logic before. I've used FL. I've used Cubase, Reaper, BandLab, Soundtrap, GarageBand, like basically like anything you can think of, except for obviously Ableton, because I use a Dell laptop, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I again, this is just my opinion on this, and you probably know even more than me already. But I would recommend switching to the Mac, and if you can get Pro Tools, I mean, that's clearly the industry standard. It's not cheap either. But dude, next time you come on, set me up with a way for me to be able to play some of your music. All right, I'll happily show you that love.
Yeah. I mean, and I think part of like being an artist, like a lot of people think it's always quality of the music, but like especially as like a person who's like trying to make it like independent, it's more like you still got to be like likable, because like I think respect goes like a long way between like both parties. Like I wouldn't really be talking to you if I didn't like respect you, especially you, Sai. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, being a nice person goes a long way. You're absolutely right, especially in the real world, right, where you're actually interacting with people face to face and stuff like that. Good luck, man, and like I said, next time come back. You were awesome. Enjoy Fast Times at Ridgemont High if you watch it. Jeff Spicoli, he's probably my favorite movie character. Him and John McClane and Indiana Jones. I think that's my top three. But yeah, it's an awesome movie. Period. It's old. I know you'll think it's like an insanely dated film, but it's still absolutely hilarious, based on a true story. One of Cameron Crowe's first films. And next time you come on, I hope you come back soon. Set me up with some music, man. Let's hear it.
Yeah, and just one more note. Like I heard you say something about you're worried about like once Curry's back and like all the vets are back, that it's definitely gonna ruin the rotations.
Well, I'm just curious how it's gonna go, right? I mean, you have 9 or 10 guards on this team. I just, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like we have like 8 guards, and we're trading at least like 3 of them. Like, I just don't see, like, if we're gonna DMP Kuminga, just DMP Pods and like Healed, please, just do it.
I wish, dude. If you DNP'd Kuminga, Pajemski, and Buddy Healed, like, you still have so much talent on your roster, man. Like, you could have a 10. Like to me, the 10 guys who should be playing right now, and let me know if you agree or not. And this is under the premise that, fine, Kuminga's just done. He's no longer a Warrior. They're DMPing him, keeping him fresh for the trade deadline. I feel like that's what they should be doing if they really are intending on trading him. Because here's the worst case scenario, I think. You keep playing him and he like suffers a season-ending injury. Then what? What do you do then? He has no value trade-wise. He has no value to you this year. So if you're going to keep him, utilize him properly. If you're not going to keep him, maybe just shelve him for good. But let's say you DNP Kuminga, Pajemski, Buddy Hield, Steph, Jimmy Butler, DeAnthony Melton, Moses Moody, Will Richard, Quentin Post, Seth Curry, Trace Jackson Davis, Guy Santos, and what the hell, Pat Spencer, because he's been balling out. That's a 10-man rotation. Most NBA teams have 8-man rotations. It was comical to me the other night when the broadcasters and a lot of broadcasters were saying this. The Warriors only have 10 people available. Only? Are you kidding me? Like 10 is. Dude, the NBA used to have rosters of 12. Like, since when is 10 like some ridiculously low number? Like, and that's a 10-man rotation I just gave you right there. Do you like that rotation, or am I missing somebody?
Yeah, that would probably be like my dream like rotation like right now. Like just including like any trades, like anyone who says that the Warriors are like trash and like they don't have depth. I think it was easy to say like on those first few games, but I think given like this break and that we were able to like that Sixers game, it was just a heartbreaking loss, especially because that was a clear-cut foul on like Melton. The whole Sixers bench ran on the court, right, and stopped the inbound play. And yeah, like that was, and then not only that, we just couldn't inbound it like properly. So really, and then the OKC game, we put up a really, really good fight without like, did we have Dre? I don't remember, but without Curry basically, and we were leading against the so-called people that like, like everyone is meant to be like scared of. And I think styles make fights, and I think the Warriors can win. Like, I can see us winning with our depth and like rotations. The thing is, I think if we want to continue this winning streak, there's just limited spots, and I just don't think we can play Pods and Healed and Kuminga, especially if like all of them are getting traded. Like, if we're DNPing Kuminga, might as well like DNP Pods, really, So yeah, that's my 2 takes on it. I'm curious to see what would happen, but I do know that we're gonna make huge trades, and yeah,
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right, because there's no guarantee anything's going to happen, right? And I have no idea what Kuminga's trade value is. I have no idea what Pajemski's trade value is. Perception oftentimes is reality, contrary to what's really going on. And the perception of Pajemski is still very high around the league. Fortunately for the Warriors, so is Kuminga's. To me, that would be best case scenario. If you're going to move on from this, trade them both. get something back that can help now. But God bless Will Richard. That dude excites me as a young piece, man. Mike Dunleavy Jr., bravo for that pick. That was phenomenal. Borderline shocked that he was available in the second round where he was. And Kyoko, before you go, tell your parents thank you. They did a good job. All right?
Yeah, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad.
Exactly. Well, I meant actually, not on the show. Unless they're watching the show, then you're all good. And come back soon, okay? Stay warm, brother. I know Ottawa is freezing.
Yeah, it's like what is it, like minus 20 right now?
Oh,
or something like
Celsius?
Yeah.
What is that Fahrenheit? Is it like when it goes negative, does it also exponentially get bigger? So is it like negative 50 Fahrenheit or is it like 5 Fahrenheit?
No, negative 20 is like negative, like it's not too far off. I think it's like negative like 10 Fahrenheit.
That's freezing, man. Literally.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Stay warm, dude. Do women go out like when you're socializing, or men, whatever. Let me rephrase that so I'm not discriminating. Is the dating scene alive when the weather's that freezing? Like when the bars hopping? Like, can you go to a bar and actually find other people? Like, do people go out when it's minus 20? It's crazy.
I think they do only in like special occasions. Like if you were to go out here on like Black Friday, Boxing Day, those days are like, yeah, especially if it's cold out, like you'd see like a ton of people. But like at one point in time, I think like 2 years ago, we had like 4 days straight where it was like negative 40 like Fahrenheit. And it's like, I physically couldn't go out.
God damn, that is crazy, man. Well, stay warm. Figure it out. Oh my God, that is cold, dude. But look, I'm a homebody, so if I lived there, I'd just be inside playing video games and watching NBA basketball and chilling with my dog. That's pretty much all I would do. But Ottawa, I remember my aunt went to Ottawa a few years back just to check it out, and she loved it. She sung high praises for it, but I could understand someone being 20 years old, being very bored. Where do you want to go? Like when you graduate college? And side note, in case people aren't familiar, the legal drinking age in Canada, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Kyoko, is 19, correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So you're already having fun, and it begs the question of why Canadians typically also mature quicker than Americans, even though their drinking age is at 19. It says a lot about the different cultures. But what is your goal? Do you want to become stateside? Do you want to become an American someday? Are you going to be a Canadian for life? And where do you hope to go once you're finished with school, so you're not as bored?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. Like I don't think I've planned that out yet to like the fullest extent, but like I know for a fact, like especially how like patriotic I am. I'm the type of dude who's like ride or die basically, and it's like if I was born like in the States and like I know I'd be like stubborn to like move like out of it, just because like moving it's not as easy as like it actually like is. You know, like a lot of stuff goes into it, right? So yeah, that's really like my and
just know this, and maybe you do know this, but if you do, just a reminder, your Canadian passport gives you a hell of a lot more freedom traveling the world than an American passport does. So take advantage of that when you graduate. Go see what's out there, and because your passport is going to give you a lot more freedom in terms of working in other countries and and being less discriminated against. Because some people out there hate Americans. I don't see many people out there hating Canadians. So enjoy that Canadian passport as you're seeing the world. And Kyoko, thanks for coming on. I hope we hear from you again soon. All right.
Yeah, and just to end off, like I'm just curious as to see like what's gonna happen like tomorrow. You know, like with the rotations, I'm curious to see if they're gonna stick it out with Pat. And I think the main conflict that's gonna happen is like it looks like Pat wants his spot and he's been waiting. Like, have you ever seen like Jeremy Lin? It's like the moment Melo got injured, Lin immediately like took his spot and like produced. And then by the time Melo came back, it's like locker room issues. Melo, he wanted to be like that main guy, and I kind of get that vibe off of like Pods, just the way he like carries himself. So I'm just curious to see like what's gonna happen. Are they gonna try splitting the minutes, or like what, or are they just gonna put up like a 5 guard?
We're all fascinated. Like, I think everybody who has an emotional investment in the Warriors is riveted to see what happens tomorrow night. And we go a lot more, and we're live right after to talk about it. So look, again, for all of you folks who are experiencing a Kuminga fatigue, it's over. Like it's done. Okay. Like it's officially at that point where either he's going to get traded, or for the rest of his tenure under Steve Kerr, he's a role player who might get DNP'd some games. We're moving on from that. So again, if you have Kuminga fatigue, I feel you. I feel it myself, and we're going to be focusing on the Warriors. Now, unfortunately, if you have Steve Kerr fatigue, that's not going anywhere because he's still the head coach and he's calling all the shots. So if he makes good rotational decisions, we'll talk about that. If he more likely, as expected, makes awful rotational decisions, we'll talk about that as well. But if you're experiencing Kuminga fatigue, it's okay. That topic has hit its run. And we'll see what Steve Kerr has cooking. And Kyoko, you were fantastic. Come back soon, all right?
All right. Yeah. I'll occasionally like chirp in if I'm not busy, and just give my 2 takes, because I feel like I have a voice, and you know.
You're welcome. And people can follow you again. Kyoko is spelled Kayeekeo.
Yeah.
Is that your Instagram handle? Just that one word?
I think add like an extra 2 O's on Instagram, but yeah, that's yeah.
The good news is if you start typing that out, your handle is going to show up. So again, it's Kayeekeo, and then maybe a couple more O's after that. And you can find Kyoko, who's a musician. I'm looking forward to hearing your stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, bro. And
right, that's Kyoko, man. Our audience is awesome. Highest IQ audience of all Warriors shows, and it ain't even close. One more time, you have until tomorrow to order from the Golden Days merch store. That's the QR code right there. The banner down there is explaining to you that it's located on our YouTube page. And if you click on any of the items, it'll take you to the website that has all of our stuff. You can order, I think, through next week, but you would have to pay extra for expedited shipping if you want your swag showing up in time for Christmas. For the Warriors fan in your life, if you have a dog lover in your life, we have a great logo partnered with the former San Francisco Surf Company of the dog surfing logo that's on some of our stuff. Yeah, go check it out. That's one of the best ways to support the program besides joining us here live, subscribing. I have not even checked to see if we're above 5,000 subs. Something tells me we are. We'll do a proper celebration if that's true tomorrow night. And thanks to all of you. I really appreciate it. I noticed a good trend in our chat that where people can just get all the negativity out that they're feeling without me taking action. And that's not including me in your rhetoric. If we do that, just stick to the team. Hate on Kuminga all you want. Hate or love on Kerr all you want. Just keep me out of it, all right? And the only reason why, it's not that I care that much, but I care enough where if you're bad-mouthing me, I have a hard time not, coming back at you, man. And I guess they call that in today's world bait. So just don't put bait out there, all right? Just do that, and you will long live in terms of getting your voice heard, all right? Just don't involve me, please. Thank you. And otherwise, we're back tomorrow night. We'll see how these rotations work. We'll see what Steve Kerr has cooking up his sleeve. I'm sorry. And thank you all again. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you, even the haters, because you do make things interesting. So we shall see. We're back soon. Thanks, everybody. Where's my show clothes? Where is it? Where's Shardall? No Shardall tonight, huh? Well, we have him in spirit. Shardall, how do you spell days in Golden Days if people want to get a 10% discount on their purchase? That does exist. You will get 10% off your order if you use the promo code DAYS. But it's not spelled DAYS.
Golden Days in reference to the Matthew McConaughey movie Dazed and Confused.
That's how you spell it. D-A-Z-E. Chardal, thank you. Always here with us, even if just in spirit. Okay, we're done. The puppy needs food. Hope you all have a great night. We're back tomorrow night, right after Warriors and T-Wolves. Oh, bye-bye.